Good evening and welcome to the Monday, August 24th, 2020 Litchfield Board of Selectmen meeting. The board has just come out of a paperwork review. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:02 and ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first items are the review and approval of consent items. We have an account payroll manifest of August 18th, 2020 in the sum of $13,066.09 and August 25th, 2020 in the sum of $68,516.29. We have a payroll manifest of August 20th, 2020 in the sum of $58,928.96. and August 27th, 2020, in the sum of $56,684.51. We have 3 property tax abatements. Are there any items members would like to remove from consent? Hearing none, we'll accept a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve.
We have a motion by Mr. Lynch,
Second.
second by Mr. Larry. Any discussion? All those in favor? Mr. Larry? Since people are listening, we'll do a roll call.
Aye.
Mr. LaSalle?
Aye.
Mr. Lynch?
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 4-0-0. Is there any other business members would like to be added this evening? Okay, hearing none. Public input will occur no earlier than 6:45 this evening. The first item of business is the August 10th, 2020 meeting minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review them? And if so, are there any changes or any items of discussion?
Troy made that one change, right?
Yep.
The highlighted orange.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Look at that.
I make a motion, we accept the minutes.
We have a motion by Mr. LaSalle,
I'll second it.
second by Mr. Lynch. All in favor? Mr. Larry?
Aye.
Mr. LaSalle?
Aye.
Mr. Lynch?
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 4-0-0. Next item is Moderator Brown and Assistant Moderator Perry. Election update. Mr. Brown.
Okay. I think we're all very much aware that we have primary elections coming up very quickly, and COVID-19 obviously is going to have a big impact on how that election is carried out. So our election management team, Moderator Byron, Assistant Moderator Perry, and our town clerk tax collector, Terry Brian, has been working together, coming up with a plan, working with our school officials, our police chief, fire chief, and our emergency management team. And they're here this evening to go through what they've developed for a plan, and talk to you about any of the loose items that need to be addressed by either the Board of Selectmen or other staff members. So with that, Frank, I think I'll yield to you.
Okay. So I've been keeping the board pretty much plugged in on what's been going on, so none of this should be a surprise or anything as far as information coming out. There has been developed a new layout for the polling place to try and take and prevent spread of COVID, to maximize the separation of voters and to try and do something with unidirectional flow. That is going to be implemented at the September 8th as well as the November 3rd presidential election. My expectation is that if there is a problem with it that we can counter on September 8th, we will fix it for the November 3rd election. In terms of that layout, I have met and reviewed that layout with the SAU, and they are okay with it. I've met and reviewed it with the checklist supervisors, and they've asked a bunch of questions, and they're okay with it. I reviewed it with Chief of Police Sergeant, and he has okayed it. He is looking at what he's going to use for staffing for that. I have not heard any information on it as of yet. And I have not gotten general feedback from the Board of Selectmen. I'm assuming you're okay with it, but if not, we'll discuss that, I guess, tonight. There was a decision that had to be made by the Attorney General and Secretary of State in terms of wearing masks at elections, that type of thing. The Attorney General and the Secretary of State have said that that is a sole discretion of the moderator. So I have made a decision that masks will be worn by all election officials, ballot clerks, voters, and anybody who's attending with the voter, such as kids or that type of thing that would be going into there. Should be aware that, of course, there is a school policy that nobody can be in the school without a mask. So I think that's in keeping with that. I will tell you that the Board of Selectmen is exempt from having to wear masks because you have a constitutional duty to be at the election. But you should be aware that I, as moderator, can set you in a corner somewhere, looking at the wall, and you would not be able to be closer to people than is deemed safe.
For Mr. Lynch, that's not a bad idea.
Used to it.
We have some general outlines of the new procedure that'll be used and how it would flow and everything else. I have drafted a letter to the citizens of Litchfield to explain some of this. I did send it to the board, and I had it reviewed by a subset of people beforehand before I expanded it out to members of the board. I would like to get feedback on that tonight because it is my intention that we post that as soon as we possibly can on the town website. I know Terry's got to take a look at it as well, but we do need to get some feedback and make sure everything's okay. The other thing that I am pleased to say is that the citizens of Litchfield have stepped up big time. We have received approximately 12 individual offers of assistance to help us out on election day.
That's fantastic.
And I want to congratulate and thank from the bottom of my heart those citizens, because it's going to take us about 12 people, believe it or not, to run this election. So everybody has been great about it. We continue to get them in every couple of days. It's starting to get to the point where we may have to consider cutting off people. But I want to let you know that the selectmen should be proud of the citizens in the town who have stepped forward and made the effort and to help us out. The other request that I've made is to Mr. Brunel, and asked Mr. Brunel to put a section up on the front page of the town's website where we can start to lay in information related to the election so people will get a sense as to what's going to happen, and they can fully expect that. He told me that he will do that. And once I get the letter, it would be my intention that that letter would drop into that spot. We've decided that we will publicly notice that processing of absentee ballots, I would like to notice that we will commence processing those ballots at 8 a.m. on election day. That is a new state law for the COVID program. And I wanted to make sure, because as Terry will tell you, I'm sure in a couple minutes, we are going to be up to our ears in absentee ballots. And it is not, absentee ballots are always a handful to process at elections. We have agreed with the SAU that we are going to be able to set up the election operations early. Because there is no school until the 9th of September, we're going to be able to set up the gymnasium, I'm hoping on Wednesday of that week, and be able to leave that in place until the election comes up on the Tuesday, the 8th. Part of the reason for that is a holiday weekend. It's Labor Day weekend, and I'm hoping that we can avoid having people work over the Labor Day weekend and still get that type of work done. I've got both draft public notices for the pre-processing of absentee ballots, as I mentioned a moment ago. I also have a public notice for the final processing of absentee ballots on election day. There has been a change in state law that allows us to process absentee ballots ahead of the election. We can process them on, I believe it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Monday. Okay. I'm thinking, but I haven't discussed this yet in detail with Terry and Steve, that I would like to do it on Friday because you can only do it once and you can only process absentee ballots that are received up to the day before you process the ballots. So if we do it on Friday, we'd only be able to process anything we receive up until Thursday of that week. If we do that, the benefit is that we can process those absentee ballots much faster when we get to the actual election day and don't have to go through the reading of a name and the challenge and everything else. The downside is, and it's not really a downside, but the downside is that has to be a public meeting. It has to be noticed to the Secretary of State's office, has to be noticed to the public, and I believe it also has to be noticed to the political parties. The other downside is I need 4 election officials to do that. There is 1, 2, 3 here, and I need 1 more. Selectmen are election officials, deputy clerks are election officials, and there are others such as supervisors, the checklist as election officials. Ballot clerks can't do that. It has to be an election official.
Do you know the date and time? It's going to be Friday.
That's what I need to talk to Terry and Steve about to make sure they're in agreement with that. I think Steve had some concern a little on Friday. I haven't heard anything from Terry as of yet, but I do know Terry's as concerned as I am about absentee ballots. Okay.
What are you thinking? 3 to 4 hours? Yeah.
What's your thoughts?
How big is the stack right now?
Well, just as an example, in 2016, the whole election, I printed the report before I came in. There were a total of 22 ballots for the absentee ballots for the state primary in 2016. As of today, that have been returned, we have 154. We have sent out 290 of them, and 154 of them back. We're getting somewhere between 20 to 30 a day at this point.
So at least 7 times more right now.
For the November election, the 2016, we had a total of 401, sorry. As of today, we have, and it's only August, we have 367.
So we're going
So-
to be inundated with absentee ballots.
Oh, yeah, and
Definitely.
as it gets closer, yeah.
So I think it makes, but my point is, I think it makes sense for us to do anything we can to process those, because if we don't, I have to tie up the ballot clerks by reading the name, having them go through their checklist, find the name, check it off, the whole 9 yards. If I do it as a pre-process as allowed by state law, I avoid that whole issue and I avoid tying up voters coming in a line, waiting for me to, or waiting for the clerk to find, Frank Byron's name in the voter checklist.
So just to explain, I think we should explain to the pre-process. The only thing that we can do is open the outside envelope. We can't open the inside envelope that actually contains the ballot. Those cannot be opened until election day. We can open the outside ballot and just go through the checklist and check off that those have come in. We're just checking them off. We're not putting them, we're not even taking the ballots out of the inside envelope.
Okay.
So what
So,
will happen is there's an affidavit that's filed with each absentee ballot. That affidavit has to be looked at to ensure it's filled out correctly. That's one of the inspection steps that we would do in advance. We would also call out the person's name. The political parties or any poll observers have the ability to challenge a voter at that point. If they do, then there's a separate process I won't bore you with the details on. But there's a challenge voter affidavit and everything else that has to be filled out. But if they don't challenge the voter, then that is their opportunity to do that. It does not exist for that set of ballots at the polls. There still will be ballots that will come in if we do it on a Friday on Friday, Saturday, well, I don't know, but there'll be Monday. Terry's going to have to be open Monday for some level of
3 to
receiving
5 p.m. The
absentee
office
ballots.
has to be open.
And Tuesday. So absentee ballots that come in that period of time will have to be opened with the ballot clerks, confirm the affidavit information, and then also the name read aloud so that if there is a challenge to the voter, that can be dealt with at that time.
Are you gonna have a team that's gonna concentrate on absentee ballots?
Yes. I can explain that, but that goes into the layout of the building, so.
Because it's rather detailed and you have to keep all these things in mind.
So the way this is gonna work is if you wanna go vote, you have to have a face mask. If you wear the face mask, come in, voting is pretty much the same, with one exception. That exception is that the ballot clerks will hand you, if you're an undeclared voter, a form to fill out that's provided by the Secretary of State that will allow you, if you want to go back to undeclared. Okay? Normally what was happening is you'd have to go up to another ballot clerk, you'd have to fill out a book, you'd have to sign the book and everything else. Now they're going to allow you to fill out a form. There will be a box over by the ballot boxes that will allow them to place that form in there. And then the supervisors of the checklist can take responsibility for those when there's a sufficient stack of them to bring to their station and run them through the voter checklist again. So that is one aspect of voting. Unfortunately, the state has now gone to using the idea that if you don't vote inside, you are therefore absent from the polls and you have to vote by absentee ballot. So what that means is if somebody comes in and does not want to wear the mask, they have to go to a special station outside. They will have to obtain an absentee ballot and an affidavit. They'll have to fill them both out. And then they can file the absentee ballot and affidavit in a ballot box inside. Terry and her staff, the deputy moderator, are going to be having to issue absentee ballots because I, as a moderator, can't do that. I am correct in that, am I not?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that means that Terry's going to be running around like a chicken. The other option is also going to be that says concern with COVID is now a disability. And if you as a voter are concerned with about going into the polls, but you want to sit in your car and vote, you can call or you can notify the election officials and get an absentee ballot delivered to you in your car. You can vote it and then we'll pick it up. Now, if you look on my list here, one of my concerns is with the state's emphasis on absentee ballot, I'm very concerned we're going to be able to keep up at the polls with absentee ballots. As I said a couple moments ago, Mr. Pinciero will now discuss that.
Okay. Nice to see you too.
But I'm concerned that the staff for the clerk's group is going to be out straight dealing with absentee ballots. That's a very big concern for me. So,
If you have to take a ballot to a car, somebody has a concern with the COVID and they want an absentee ballot, do they have to go fill out that affidavit?
yes,
So it's going to be quite a process for them.
absolutely. So to answer your question, Rich, back to your question, if you don't wear a mask or you want to, or you vote in your car, you will have to take and vote outside,
Absentee.
absentee. If you are concerned, and one of the things that will happen is if you're concerned about the post office not getting you your ballots into the system on time, you can also show up at the polls and give poll officials the absentee ballot. I am asking Terry to confirm this, but I don't believe that I could as a moderator, received that from somebody driving up. Again, it's got to be Terry and her group.
So you're gonna ask them to bring it in, or are they gonna be able to call and just say, I have it?
So what we've done is we have obtained 3 phones, and the letter that I have issued, and all you guys should have had copies of it, lists 3 phone numbers on there. So when you show up at the polls, okay, in one of those 2 situations, the drop off, or you're concerned with the COVID or whatever, you can call one of those numbers and we'll get it arranged for somebody to go out and deal with you.
One question you've said several times about the mask.
Yeah.
If somebody has a medical condition, is there any sort of leeway with that?
They would have to vote outside. They can either vote in their vehicle or they can vote at the unmasked area.
Or they can wear the
I have
face
what's called-
shield. I believe we have face shields as well that we
Yeah, but
received.
we haven't authorized face shields, only masks.
Got it.
I have what's called a deviated septum. I know it sounds kind of sexy, but
It looks sexy.
yeah. But I wear one of these.
Yeah.
Would that be acceptable? I
I would say probably not.
I wear it for the legislature, so I don't know, but I'm just
They-
trying to
they
play
don't-
devil's advocate so you'll be ready
I
for.
know, they've only stated in here masks. Okay, they haven't stated face shields.
The type of mask.
They haven't stated what type of mask.
I have a question. You mentioned the firemen, you utilize the trailer. Is that so they can go inside and vote?
Yes.
How's somebody who has a disability gonna get in and out of that trailer?
On the ramp.
Ramp in the back.
Case closed. I just had to ask the question.
Already taken care of.
Thank you.
The fire department has already agreed. They'll cut a 2x4 to fit in the hinge area so that people can.
Thank you.
Will right now.
I just didn't want that to be a concern.
So the next point is that Chief Reitzel has agreed to allow us to use the trailer, and they're gonna clear that all out and get it all ready to go for the election on September 8th. The only thing coming up that he has to use it for is Fright Night or whatever it is over here. And by the time I think everything's all said and done with the election, he'll just be able to move it over to use it for
November.
whatever it is. And then what'll happen is we'll use it again if it makes sense on the November 3rd election. Okay. So that is all the things that have been completed so far. As far as open items go, I need some input on the selectmen's view of the citizens letter. Okay. We've got to confirm the inventory that was delivered to us, and delivered to Chief Reitzel, that's down at the fire station of PPE. That's going to be done on the 26th. We'll do that on the evening of the 26th. We have a training session, which I think you guys are aware of. I hope you're aware of, on Wednesday, the 26th at 6:30 at the old fire station. I have to determine a location to do a partial processing of absentee ballots. It has to be a public session. I don't expect it's going to be a huge crowd pleaser or draw, but there is possibility that there will be public there to see what's going on. And I'm going to need, there's a couple things that I need to get. I'd like to get, one of the things that we want to have the ballot clerks doing is changing their gloves frequently. In other words, if you get the contamination on your glove, the chances of that spreading are pretty high. Okay, so if they change their gloves frequently, then we can minimize that. I also would want them to do disinfection of those glove hands as well. So what I need to get is some small waste baskets, enough for probably each station. I think they're like $6 a piece or something like that at Home Depot or whatever. But I'm just thinking that while they're sitting there, they can strip the gloves off, put them in the wastebasket, don new gloves, and be ready to go without having to get up and run to a waste container somewhere in the gymnasium. I also think, according to the Secretary of State and the Attorney General, they're recommending that we review our procedures with town council. And I think that's not necessarily that town council needs to approve them. It's the idea that town council needs to be aware in case there is some type of legal action or whatever you want to call it that's going to come down because of this. Okay. So I don't know how you want to do that, whether you want me to write something up or whether you want me to just talk to her on the phone or some other method. That's up to you guys. Just let me know. I've got some concerns that obviously the budget was not planned for this. Okay. Normally we could run this with like 6 or 7 ballot clerks.
Wake up.
But what's actually happening is now we have to have the outside voting. We also have to have the absentee ballot area, the whole 9 yards. This is getting, I counted up about 12 people that I need to do an election now. So this is above and beyond what the budget is and everything else that was anticipated.
And that's full time, right? You have 12 stations. If somebody takes a break,
Right.
so you need more than 12.
Are you counting 12 additional from what we usually use?
Well, there are selectmen. Okay.
So,
And I have not counted the selectmen in that
12.
number.
Okay.
So you can expect that I may ask a selectman to help out a
Designated
particular
hitter.
station.
Mhm.
Okay? So that we can bump people to get lunch, bump people, bathroom breaks, the whole 9 yards.
Okay.
Okay?
Troy, can we get any of this funding back through the CARES Act?
Well, we're gonna,
Terry
Terry's
may
the one, yeah, she's been participating in webinars and stuff, so she can answer that.
so there's a, which I have here. I filled out the grant information for this. There's $3 million that is put aside for the elections. The way that they did it and they explained it in the webinar was anything above and beyond what we did, like I explained the 34 from 2016 to the 247 that we have now. They will pay, they're trying to figure out the amount, but they used as an example $12 per ballot after that 34.
Okay.
They'll pay $12 per ballot, per absentee ballot after that. It'll be split 80-20. The town will pay the 20%. The state will pay 80%. It cannot be included in the like the gopher. We can't take that 20% from that. It has to come from us. So I do have those forms here. I filled everything out. The only thing it says, all the forms and everything, it just says that I need evidence that the city, town, or unincorporated place complied with the RSA 31:95B. Just saying that we're going to accept the unanticipated revenue. The municipalities using the designating signing authority option must also attach evidence demonstrating the authority to sign. So I signed them. I just need the board to also vote that I can sign these forms and we can get them in. I have to show them the minutes and it has to be sent into them by Friday
Okay.
is the latest.
So you need us to take action on that this evening?
Yes.
Okay.
Can we do that now?
Sure.
So the grant, from my understanding is we'll be getting reimbursed based on the number of absentee ballots.
Yes.
So it's not going to be
Big something.
like we do with the gopher where we provide
exactly how much it
receipts of hand sanitizer and PPE equipment and pay and stuff like that. That's not the way this one's going to be reimbursed to the town.
Nope.
It's going to be per dollar value over the last absentee,
Yeah.
80% of it.
So I would like to make a
Couple thousand.
motion, have Terry proceed, be able to sign it and go.
We have a motion by Mr. Lynch.
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Leary. Any further discussion? All those in favor, Mr. Leary,
Aye.
Mr. Salas,
Yes.
Mr. Lynch,
Aye.
Mr. Pinciero.
Yes.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 5-0-0. Thanks, Terry.
So the other concern, obviously, is the budget part of it. We have a concern, or I have a concern, that there will be confusion on the layout, because this will be much different than what people have seen in the past. I have therefore stationed 2 greeters out there that will direct people into the right line, and they will make sure that the flow of people doesn't overwhelm the voting area, so that we keep the separation for COVID protection. Also, those people will have to cover right outside the door that they will be at, the ballot box, there's an outdoor ballot box that will be there. We need to make sure that that's protected at all times. So if somebody is called away, then somebody will have to shift over. That's why there's 2 people there. But anyways, I'm hoping that we can avoid the confusion by having those people directing where to go. I also, as I said a little bit ago, I'm very concerned about the impact on Terry and her group, because the reliance is now heavily on absentee ballots and multiple reasons using absentee ballots. And I'm just worried that whether we're going to be able to keep up with it or not.
Is it, and this might be a kind of a dumb question, but can we close your office on election day?
Mm-hmm.
Has that been done in the past?
No, we have not done it in the past,
I think we should consider that.
but it might be, something that I can consider and figure out.
So from an election point of view, there's only 2 people that can handle absentee ballots. That's Terry and her deputy. Okay, so just to make sure you're aware that even if there's a person working in the office here who isn't listed as a deputy or the clerk, that's not going to help at the elections.
And we can't protect anybody for it.
Not unless Terry or her deputy are absent. We can if one of them is absent, yes.
But we can't multiply them by doing 2 or 3 extras.
One of the things that I've
Only.
noticed today on social media, that there is some confusion, at least on a couple of people's part, with respect to the deadline for turning in their absentee ballot. I saw that, is it the day before or is it the day and so forth?
In the law states that the reason why my office has to be open on Monday before the election between 3 and 5 is because technically that is the last day for us to accept absentee ballots. If somebody wants to bring in an absentee ballot, the Monday before 5 o'clock is the deadline. That's what the law states. They've made provisions to that and it is making it very confusing, because now they're saying that if the mail comes in, the mail is the last, if they mail it, the mail comes here, the girls bring the mail to the polls, and that also is included. But now they're saying with the current situation that they can get an absentee ballot at the polls, and they have until
So
close of business.
this is real crunchy, okay? But this is what the Attorney General and Secretary of State have said. If you go to Terry's office and get an absentee ballot, take it home, fill it out, and decide you don't want to trust the mail, you can bring it back into the polls anytime when the polls are open from 7 a.m. until 5 p.m.
Ooh.
Okay? After 5 p.m., Terry is not allowed to accept an absentee ballot that she has sent out, okay, prior to election day. But if you show up at the polls and want to vote in your vehicle or don't want to wear a face mask, you can get an absentee ballot anytime the polls are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and file that.
7 p.m.?
Yep.
So if you,
The whole
if she
time
was
the
in
polls
by
were open.
5, you can just go and do another one.
But
No.
It'll be checked in the
You already
in the
checked
book.
off because you mailed it. Okay.
so if they've requested an absentee ballot and don't get to the polls by 5 o'clock, then they're sort of out of luck.
Correct.
They can't vote in person, and they can't turn in their absentee ballot.
If I process the ballots early, they'll be showed as an unfulfilled absentee ballot, the way it works.
Because there has to be a cutoff.
They could come in on election day and technically, as far as I can tell, request an absentee ballot because they're concerned with the disability for COVID and do that up until 7 p.m.
Even though they've requested one before?
That's what I'm
Ooh.
reading.
So if they request an absentee ballot and we've already gone through and processed all the absentee ballots
And if
and they
don't turn it
show
in,
up, oh, if they don't show up, right. And if they show up at 5 o'clock or after 5 o'clock,
they can't vote with that absentee ballot.
correct. They can go up to the ballot clerk, get another, they can
They can
hand
go
you
in-
the absentee ballot, you spoil it,
I
put it
have
in the,
to spoil it.
you have to spoil it, give them another ballot, and that ballot gets counted in the
Man.
machine.
Oh.
It's very crunchy,
This,
as he said.
Representative LaSalle, this is the fiasco you helped get us into.
I'm sure he helped get us into, but
This is the second time today I've had to go, ooh.
So that has been made very clear to the moderators, that you cannot accept an absentee ballot coming in if the clerk has issued it prior to election day after 5 o'clock.
So that's gonna take some doing to monitor.
That's why I'm saying this whole thing is going to be heavily weighted against her.
We
have a
know she
lot of
can
gray
do it.
hair.
We have
Is
color.
there-
Monday's a holiday, so we'll have no postal service.
Right. But they can come in,
But they can come in, but we won't have the postal service. Anybody who mailed it in until Tuesday.
right. And who knows, that may change. It's very crunchy. They may.
Is there any opportunity for somebody to vote twice
I can't say.
that you can see? There's no loopholes.
Mm-mm. Nope, because once they're checked off in the book, they can't vote again.
So-
And if we're processing absentees early, they'll be checked off.
So they have, if they come, let's say they come at 6 o'clock with an absentee ballot that Terry gave them a week ago. Okay?
And they're checked off on the list.
And that they will be checked off only as far as saying they have received an absentee ballot. Anybody who has received and sent in an absentee ballot at 6 o'clock would already have voted, and it would be so indicated on the checklist.
Mhm.
If they come in looking for an absentee, they can't get it, they've already voted. Okay? But if they come in the case I'm saying, they didn't file a ballot, they come in at 6 o'clock, I say, sorry, we cannot, or Terry says, sorry, we cannot accept your absentee ballot. If you want to vote, you can go inside, wear a face mask and vote. Give us the ballot, or you have a choice of, if you don't want to wear a mask, sitting outside here and filling in an absentee ballot and the affidavit and voting then.
What if somebody comes to you on election day and says, I requested an absentee ballot but never got it?
Then they can go in and vote or
So they could go in and vote.
Or they can get an absentee ballot. Do
yes,
it out in the car.
and do it
Same
outside.
Yeah, same process.
Yes.
Same process. But they wouldn't be able to vote twice.
Nope.
That's what your concern is, Rich.
Checked off once, not twice.
So what ends up happening is for Terry to process an absentee ballot, somebody's got to show her an identification. It's got to be an acceptable election state specified identification. She will then, if they don't want to go inside, she will then take that identification and go to one of the ballot clerks, and that's not what you're gonna do?
To get an absentee ballot, they don't have to show any type of identification.
No, okay.
I
That's why I don't process absentee ballots.
don't agree with it, but to get an absentee ballot, they do not have to show
To
identification.
sign the affidavit.
If they're outside.
They're
though,
we're giving them their absentee ballot. They need to give us their name and their address. When they go to the polls, they have to show their driver's license and they have to show us that that's them. When they get an absentee ballot, it's not required by law to show us
But
their ID.
If they get an absentee ballot outside and they don't have identification, I have to go through the procedure, right?
Oh,
In other words, it's the same thing as if you come inside and don't have an identification.
I
have to
think
take
that's
the
what we need to
picture.
find out. Is it different? Is it, they're still requesting an absentee ballot? So if they're asking for an absentee ballot here, they don't have to show, they're not required by law to show identification. If they're asking for an absentee ballot at the polls,
They're
is
asking
that
to-
different?
Well, yes, it is, because they're asking to vote at the polls in the election.
So
But they're asking to vote absentee,
I
so,
will ask the question of the.
yeah, I have a
Secretary of
meeting
State.
tomorrow too.
Ask that question.
I will, because that's kind of,
what happens there? You're not showing proof of residency.
Well. for
then
that-
they wouldn't be on our checklist.
For that absentee ballot to be processed, we will have to check them against the voter
Check,
checklist.
okay.
But if you're worried about fraud, that is one area, if they don't have to show an ID,
Mhm.
that somebody,
I think that
You
they
know.
should have to show an ID.
they have Frank Byron
Right.
and his brother were living together in Litchfield. Frank Byron's brother died. I go in,
Picture, same.
I say, hey, I'm my brother. Get an absentee ballot, vote it. Then come in, say I'm myself, and vote it.
Now, normally, a person can come to the polls and register to vote, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So how does this fit into this, to the,
So the way it will work is, the hallway that's in front of the gym. So when you come in the door, normally you take a jog left, go jog right, and you're in the gym. There's a hallway right in front of you. The doors are going to be closed down that hallway. Okay. The supervisors, the checklist will be down there. So if you come in and say, I need to register to vote, you're wearing a mask, you'll be sent down to their station, and then the supervisors will do their normal thing. The reason I had the meeting with the supervisor for checklist was a change in procedure is somebody comes in, doesn't want to wear a mask, wants to register to vote. They've now got to send somebody outside to register them to vote. You want to be moderator?
no, I do not.
What are we doing about declaring and redeclaring? People's undeclared, they come in, they want to be Democrat, Republican on the way back out, they want to do
So
it
if they go
again,
to the
same
ballot clerk-
process?
Same process. If they go to the ballot clerk and,
Back and read.
right, and want a particular party's ballot,
Yep.
they're undeclared, they'll be given a card. If you want to go back to undeclared, that they'll fill out while they're in the booth. And then they'll drop that in the box.
And that'll be taken care of after the fact.
Right.
That's about-
Yes.
If they want to do it while they're outside, they'd be given the same card.
Right.
Somebody comes in and registers that day to vote. They got to go through the process and they got to show an ID, right? Do they have to remove their mask so you can visually see?
The answer is that yes, I as moderator can have them remove their mask.
Just pull it down so you
To
can verify.
to do it in a safe manner,
Mhm.
protect them as well as myself and anybody else.
Stand back 6 feet.
If I have to take a picture of them, I can do it behind a sneeze shield.
And
A
what
lot
if-
of that is contained in the, by the way, in the Attorney General's and Secretary of State's opinions that I've been sending to you guys. So you can take a look at that.
What if they refuse to pull the mask down?
Then it comes down to me calling the Attorney General's office and saying, I have a voter here who does not want to pull their mask down, and I asked the Attorney General's office to help make a decision.
They're gonna be busy.
Yep, I think so.
If somebody, no, they should want, that's not,
And how do you want to handle the legal thing? Do you want to call them? I mean, how do you want to do it?
I don't care either way.
I see the best thing we can do is to stay off your toes and let you do your job.
I agree.
You and Terry. The less, be there when you need us, whatever you need from
Either way is
us.
fine. The only thing I think you need to do is, if you want me to call her, is number one, give me your phone number. And number two, also advise her that I will be calling to go over, and I'll try and put stuff together and send it to her as much in advance as I can before we get into a discussion.
Is
So
there
that way I
phone
don't
reception in the
take up her
school? Is there phone reception in the school?
Not everywhere.
It's not, you usually have to go into the out the back door to the cafeteria window to get it or walk out. So,
You know, you might want to check with the SAU to see if they could get a landline. Well, the AD's office is there, Frank. The AD's office. You could use the AD's office as your
Communication phone.
communications point. And
I
just,
need something at the polls.
well, that's at the polls.
Oh, the
The athletic director
It's in the gym.
Mhm.
is right there off the gym.
That's
So-
where we used to plug in the
No, I know what you're talking about.
machine.
Yeah.
We don't anymore, but that's where we used
So
to do
you
it.
could have a landline there. So that would eliminate the problem of you.
Oh, you think this is good? This is good, but the September 16th one is even better.
I'm not biting.
so did we all have a chance to review the letter that was sent that's going to go out to the citizens?
Yes.
I know I did, and I thought it looked fantastic. The shortened version.
Frank, I'm a visual learner. Have you put a map together exactly using the floor plan of the gym?
Yes, it's in your mailbox.
To here
Email.
on,
I sent it to the Board of Selectmen. I don't know where your mail
I don't
goes from the incoming. But I
is it,
sent all of this information to the Board of Selectmen.
where is it?
It's in, if you go to,
Should be in your email.
I didn't see it in the email.
I'm not touching this computer because I'm gonna lose this. I got it in the phone. I can go find it.
I didn't see a visual. That's the only thing I'm thinking of. And I would like to see a visual.
is the draft
Is it
letter.
under docs?
It was in an email.
I sent it as a PDF because
Yep.
that's the easiest way I can get it to, into a format I could send it. I actually constructed it. I don't have a drawing program. So I constructed it using Google Sheets. Troy, I don't know, do you have a copy? You have a copy, right?
Can we show it on the screen?
I'm not logged into the WebEx right now.
Okay.
Well, I have it.
You
Let me
might
see
have
if
it.
I can get into the WebEx.
The
and
draft
put it-
vote letter? The draft vote letter, is that what you're speaking of that?
Well, no, he was asking about,
The setup.
Selectman Lascelles was asking about
Layout.
layout of the election area.
August 13th, sent it to us.
August 13? Moderators, Zoom. That's
I
not
believe
it.
the August 13th one was just sent to Chief Sergeant, Administrator Brown, myself, Steve, and Terry.
Forwarded it to the selectmen.
Okay. Thank you, Steve.
That's the layout?
That was a layout. Yeah, I've received it a couple different ways.
You just forward it.
Is that the moderator? That's the only
Explains
thing.
what?
Yeah, 13th.
Aha.
Okay.
polling place setup.
I just can't do it.
Thank you. I'm
Thanks,
not
Steve.
touching it though.
So is everybody going to go out the exit, or is that just the fire exit?
One way.
So that's the exit. They'll exit.
They'll come in the normal path that they normally take.
Yeah.
And go out the other.
They'll take one of three paths.
Okay.
Okay. And I just put down letters, I made up letters and split the alphabet up just to
Yeah.
show it. So if they're A through L, they'll go into the gymnasium and follow the wall immediately to the left all the way down.
Okay.
Okay. If they're M through T or whatever I put, I don't know what it
Through
was.
S.
Huh?
M through S.
M through S or whatever, they'll go into the gymnasium, follow the wall on their right-hand side down to the double doors that are at the roughly the middle of the gymnasium area there, and they will see their ballot clerks there. If they are
T to Z.
T through Z, okay, then they will go down the hallway through the doors, the double doors, and they will come out at the back of the ballot clerks that are doing the middle of the alphabet. They will follow the wall around and down the corner, and then they will see their ballot clerks down there.
Where the janitors. So that the opening that you have here in the middle of the gym for the middle the M through M through S, I guess it is. That opening is.
Those are doors.
Those are the doors
Right.
at the gym where you normally spectators come in the basketball games. right there.
Correct.
And the rest of the people will go down and all the way around.
Yeah, I mean, I can point it out to you if you want to see it.
Thanks, Steve. Oh, I see now.
So, excuse me, Rich.
Yeah.
There is going to be a greeter out here, okay? The purpose of that greeter is to stop people, give them a mask if they need a mask, have them disinfect their hands, make sure they understand that they have to wear the mask through the whole thing. There'll be another table here with two greeters. Those greeters are going to be handing out placemats that are going to be used in the voting booths. Those are coming from the state. And they will be laid in the voting booth. The ballot will be laid on top of it, and they can fill out the ballot that way. So that we don't have people putting their hands on the voting booth floor or the shelf or whatever you want to call it. They'll also hand out at that station pencils or pens to fill out the ballot.
Souvenir.
Souvenir, you get to keep them if you want them. So in this case, A through L will come in, go right down here, go to the ballot clerks and into the voting area here. Okay, this voting area is much larger than normal, so we're going to spread everybody out. M through S will come in and down this way, and then into the area here. Okay, and if you happen to be T through Z, what will happen is you'll come down this hallway, through here, right in back of these ballot clerks, down, over, get your ballot, go vote. The ballot boxes will be here, roughly in the same place they normally are. There will also be a box here for depositing your change of party affiliation slip if you so want to make that change. And then you'll exit out here, go to your car, go home.
Where
With the
would the,
full knowledge that you've done your duty as a citizen.
you guys are gonna still be in that corral?
There will be somebody here, there'll be two clerks here, and to be candid with you, mostly we're gonna be running around going crazy, trying to
Okay.
keep up with everything else. The polling area If the person here detects that they're not going to wear the mask, they send them around here to the tent. And that's where Terry and her function picks up with an absentee ballot.
It's gonna be the outside of the building.
Right. And I'm expecting that the emergency trailer will be in like this location right here. Okay?
Please.
These people here, if you come in wearing a mask, you want to register to vote, that's the supervisor of the checklist. So they will register you to vote, get you all set and go, and then they will have to come in and go however they need to the various ballot stations to get you voted. If you don't want to wear a mask and want to register to vote, the supervisors will have to come out to this area and do their thing up there.
Is this a potential choke point here, right?
If it was me, I'm thinking that this is probably the choke point here because I can't separate it out much further.
But these ballot clerks will be facing that way.
They'll be facing exactly, you're right, Rich. They'll be facing this direction.
So they'll be going, these folks here go behind them.
Correct.
Be fenced off.
I'm expecting that we've normally had the large panels behind the ballot clerks. I'm expecting that there'll be large panels in these locations as well.
It's science.
But if I'm guessing the choke point, it's going to be right in here. Because what I can't do is allow the lines to back out because then we've got an issue with protecting the voters and everything else.
How much width well, once you get a set up, you can do this on that choke point too.
Well, I really, I
Yeah, it's close.
I got to keep them separated.
6 foot separation.
About the 6 feet and stuff. And
Yeah.
I've been struggling with this, whether I cut off, to your point, whether I cut off a corner here or do, I don't know.
Well, depends on how it lays out. You'll be changing your mind.
But if I have them come through this door, the problem is I got to have at least 3 lines here.
Yeah.
The reason for 3 lines is I got to have them come down, go back, and then down again.
Okay.
Why is that? I
To
don't,
get them facing the ballot clerks to get out of there.
You guys, as long as they're wearing the mask, you're pretty much all set. If they're not, it's another whole story.
You'll be able to tweak it when you set up on Wednesday.
We're gonna probably have to tweak it.
Yep.
But that's what I'm expecting right now, how we're gonna set it up.
Okay.
And you're comfortable with that, so what you got, as much as can be expected.
As much as can be expected, yeah.
Okay.
Is there a concession stand here?
There is. There's actually gonna be hot dogs and beer.
now, how are people exiting? Just dropping off their ballot and heading out?
Right. And there's gonna be, right next to that exit, there will be trash cans. I'm thinking large trash cans there, so that they can dump their unused, their used mat into the trash can. There'll probably be some disinfectant over there, so as they go out, they can do their hands or whatever the case may be.
It's all new.
We have enough masks to hand out to folks.
That's what we're gonna check out. We're supposed to, but we'll check on Wednesday.
Will there be any COVID screening?
No. I'm not a doctor. I play one on television, but not in real life.
I don't want to listen to him scream.
I am not going to be screening people, and there's no intention of screening anybody for COVID.
That hurts.
I mean, we will ask people if they feel sick or just have signs up. There's signs that the Secretary of State has provided that say things if you feel ill, sick, whatever, all of the stuff we've heard for the past 3 months. Those signs will be posted, but there's no intention to quiz people on.
No temperatures or anything
No.
like that?
Not unless you guys snuck it into a state law somewhere.
They haven't met much.
But I'm not doing it.
So right now, you just need us to approve the citizens letter.
No,
No?
I'm just asking for your feedback. If you want to approve it, that's fine. But I would intend that we need to put something up there. You asked for a letter. If you're comfortable with it, fine, approve it, and we'll go forward from there. But I'm just looking to get something up to inform our citizens of what's going on.
The only suggestion I would make is maybe have some arrows on here as you refine this, and you know, have the A through Z or A through X or whatever, and have the arrows so people will understand, sort of, they'll be able to anticipate.
Yeah, there's going to be, we already have those signs anyways that we've got in our inventory, so we'll set those up. But the other thing that those greeters are going to do that you see right
Direct them.
there is make sure people move in the right direction. This is not going to be an easy election. The one I'm really dreading is going to be the presidential.
Yeah, this, thank goodness we have
It's a
this
training
as a
one.
dry run, sort of, so to speak.
Come March, we'll be pros.
Well, all of these law changes do not continue beyond the presidential. They're done. So we're back to status quo in March.
Eventually.
Well, hopefully we'll be over that hurdle.
Maybe by November, things will be back the way it should be.
I would hope so, but you never know.
I think if they are, it's not gonna change.
All right, does anybody have any comments on the citizens letter?
Not I'm
I
happy.
think it's a good letter.
I agree.
If you're happy with it, then I'll send it to John later today or tomorrow and ask him to post that on the town
That'd be
website,
great.
along with the dates of the election, so people will see that as well, stuff like that.
Is your intent to put this layout up also?
We can. The only thing I don't like about that layout is I don't have arrows on it because I couldn't get arrows on that spreadsheet program to function. I mean, I can draw them by hand and then make a PDF out of a drawing, if you know what I'm saying. So I want to do a little work on it if we're going to put it up, but I've got no problem with that.
If you're gonna post that though, it'd be difficult to make a change if we set it up
Yeah,
and didn't.
So
like
it'd
where
probably
it
be
was.
better not posting it,
We'll give handouts as they're going in.
especially if you're gonna have greeters and people
A
telling you
roadmap.
which way to go. I think we should be fine.
The greeters are gonna help.
Yeah.
The greeters are ridiculous. It's like going to Walmart.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what he wants, if that's what you want to have done. Okay.
I mean, we've been sending everybody to the state's website. We're getting a lot of absentee ballots in from the parties that are sending them out in mass mailings. So people are sending those in too. They're filling, and then I'm getting a lot of calls because some of them, you know, I had a woman that called, her husband's been deceased for 15 years and he got one of those absentee ballot requests.
That's happening all over.
It is. And then they had the big mistake where, thank God it wasn't Litchfield, but
Sent to
they all
Durham.
went to Durham, even though it said Town Clerk of Litchfield, 2 Liberty Way, Durham, New Hampshire. They all went to Durham. They got slammed with them. Yeah. And then they had to resend them. So everybody got them again. So, I mean, they're just mailing them out. They're not even using the ones that are on the state's website. Some people are just, different parties are just mailing them. Don't forget to get your absentee ballot, and people are just mailing them in. So,
You know, the real crime of that is that people are thinking their
They
vote's
have to
gonna
vote.
count.
well, and they're also thinking that they have to vote absentee and that the polls are not gonna be open on that day. Well, I gotta get my ballot in because the polls are not gonna be open. They're gonna close the polls, you know, and I need to make sure that I get my vote in.
The other danger is somebody is gonna have a spoiled ballot. They're gonna send it in thinking they have voted when they really haven't, you know? Well, I'm just, for the town of Litchfield, I'm just happy that our team is in place. We have the people that we have. Heaven forbid, some of these towns that don't have the people that we do. My only wish is that this wasn't like your first year being moderator, you know? Not that that would really prepare you for this.
This is all well planned, Frank.
Well, I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable for the third. Excuse me, for the primary. I'm less comfortable for the general election because I expect it's all going to break loose at that one. And
Well, I'm really worried about the town clerk for the general because,
oh yeah,
because that's going to be terrible.
We may have to get some
Busy
more work
now,
here.
and we had help come in and spend a day with us to get this stuff up to date, but it's still the absentee ballots that are coming in, the registrations that are coming in. It is very, very busy, and we're, like I said today, I had something from the WhatsApp page that asked us to kind of explain everything, and I explained everything, and I also said to him, please be patient with us, and we're doing the best we can to get everything out.
You know, the other crime is, as well prepared as you are, Frank, things might very well change drastically between now and election day.
well, what's going on is that each week, we've been doing this now for about 2 months.
Yes.
Each week, there are separate meetings for clerks,
Mhm.
supervisors of the checklists, and moderators with the Secretary of State and AG's office.
Mhm.
And believe me, when you take all the moderators in the state of New Hampshire and put them together, and then some of them are asking questions that yeah, I didn't think of that. Yeah, you're right. I think there's a possibility that this will change.
Not so much for the primary, but for the general. Between now and then, we're going to have kids going to school, which could really upset a bunch of apple carts,
We're getting a lot of requests from them now too. They're already requesting or signing up for, to register to vote, so.
I did just, by the way, think of something that I could change on the flow of that to try and make it a little bit better, so.
Work in progress.
That's why it's a good idea, your idea, don't post it as,
All good things take time.
Steve, do you have to do another motion to accept the unanticipated revenue? Does the board have to accept? We don't know what it is, but.
We don't know
do you
what it
have to
is,
make just that you'll accept the funds?
I think when we know the value, should we do it?
I think
Well, I
it
thought
has to
we-
be done and in the minutes.
Okay, so we should just do it then.
I think the value, you know the value, don't you?
We don't know, they've not decided yet what the amount's gonna be. They used as an example, $12 per ballot that they would reimburse us for. But they haven't told us
Well,
they have $3 million and it all, like I said, they don't know because after each election, we have to fill out a form of how many we had in 2016 and how many we had for the September election. Then after the November election, we need to do the same thing. We need to fill out how many we had in November, which is, in 2016, which is easy enough because that doesn't change. But if we're accepting absentee ballots up until, you know what I mean?
Yes,
7
we won't know
o'clock.
until after the fact. And
We
then what
won't know
happens as
until
a
after.
state, if we get above $3 million, what are they gonna do?
Right.
I think the allocation for Litchfield, the max right now, based on 2016 figures, in the spreadsheet, the information you had, was it $18,920.37?
Is that, I don't know if it's.
I think, I just received, the information this morning, but I would make a recommendation to the board that you move to accept $18,920.37 from the Federal CARES Act for elections in accordance with RSA 21-P:43 for eligible election expenses.
And where did you get this number?
on the paperwork that.
Go to your
That
truth,
number
Kevin, and click number D.
I have that. I'm looking at it right now.
If you go
Looking for
below
the
that, there's a
18,000.
PDF file that will link you over to.
No, I have it. I'm looking at it. I just don't know where the number came from.
I think it's based on the absent.
But we don't know how many
Yeah,
absentee
yeah.
ballots we're gonna have.
I don't know. That's
Maybe that's our max amount? Is that what?
this is your maximum.
Right.
This is they will
So
not
that's the
award.
max then.
That's the maximum amount.
Okay,
They've gone
okay.
through the whole state and they've determined a maximum amount for every town. and city.
Okay, so it's predetermined.
Can we move not to exceed?
You could.
Up to.
I'd make that 3 million.
Yeah, they just send it all to us.
Don't cut it short.
Okay, do we have a motion for the Election Care App grant?
So moved.
I'll
Stated
second
by
it.
Mr. Brown.
I'll second it.
So we have a motion by Mr. Leary, second by Mr. LaSalle's. Any further discussion? All those in favor, Mr. Leary,
Aye.
Mr. LaSalle's,
All right.
Mr. Lynch,
Aye.
Mr. Pinciero.
Yeah,
I am also an aye. Motion carries 500.
One question, do you have to also accept any of that PPE given to the town?
That we could, but we can do that at a later date and time
Okay.
once we confirm what we receive.
Yeah, or
It's-
do we
it's-
have to, because it's actually a state election, it's not they're both state, so they're just providing us with.
It's not so it's more material. I mean, it's something we
They
can do
provide the
later.
ballots, they provide,
It's going to be
Training.
delivered to you. Yeah.
yeah.
So,
What is the last date that a person can request a absentee ballot?
5 o'clock on the Monday before the election. They can come in and request it and do it there.
Okay. So that's on Labor Day. So if their request for an absentee, so let's say they request an absentee ballot and it gets to you by 5 o'clock on Monday. How do you get the absentee ballot to them?
So they'd have, at that point, they'd have to come in and get it. They'd have to come in, request it. I gave it to them, they fill it out, and they hand it back.
Right there.
Yep.
So in reality, if somebody is expecting to send in their absentee request, have it get back to them, fill it out, and get it back to you, in reality, they have to do it like by now or a week beforehand.
I would say,
I just wonder if people understand that.
right. Because if you call the Secretary of State's office, if I call them and say Friday before the election, someone calls and says, sends me a request, they want an absentee ballot mailed out, I have to mail it to them. Whether they get it back to me in time, but I have to mail it to them.
Regular mail.
If they call me Monday and ask me for an absentee ballot, I have to mail it to them, even though, I can say to them, how are you gonna get this back? It's not gonna be back by Tuesday's mail, but I have to give it to them if they request it.
okay. Their stamp.
No.
To send it back.
To send it back.
Yep.
If they send it.
So 6 a.m. September 8th, I expect to see each and every one of your smiling faces.
Frank,
I will be there.
since I'm on the ballot, could I be a greeter?
Mhm.
Yes.
You can't handle ballots.
You just can't touch.
But I could be a greeter, like, welcome
But
to
you-
Walmart.
Yeah, but you can't campaign while you're doing it.
Right.
No.
Just give a mask.
You can still work the election, you just can't work the ballot box or touch the ballots. Because you're an election official.
What I would do is stay outside I'd stay outside the gym,
And a close relative of yours has also volunteered to help us out, and I have also informed her she can't handle the ballots either. Not because it's illegal, just because of your parents.
Yeah. Now, when you take a ballot out to somebody in their car, I assume it's going to be on a clipboard. No.
Nope, it's going to be in just like we mail them out. So the ballot will be in the affidavit envelope, and it will also be which goes into another envelope. So it'll be in 2 envelopes.
So they're gonna have to fill it out in their car.
They'll have to sign the affidavit that's on the outside of the envelope, sign it, and then seal it, and then hand it back to us, and we bring it back in as a absentee ballot.
So your person was gonna be standing there waiting for them, or?
Pretty much.
And it has to be an election official, meaning it's got to be her or her deputy.
Wow.
That's the problem with absentee ballots.
What if it's raining?
Get an umbrella.
Big umbrella.
I mean, it's,
It's not.
I
gonna
mean,
work.
the force doesn't necessarily work at Campbell like it works where my house is. I mean, wouldn't that be a problem?
That's why I'm
It's not
concerned.
that day.
That's why I'm concerned that we're depending too much on absentee ballots.
I agree.
But on the other hand, everybody's afraid of that bug.
Well, I'm out of things to say.
Yeah. Anybody have anything else?
Thank you, Frank.
Frank, thank you.
Thank
Did
you,
well-
Terry.
well
Thank you,
done.
Frank. Thanks, Steve, for all your hard work and efforts.
It's
Let
above
us
and
know what
beyond
else we
Call
can
of
do to
Duty.
support you. We'll see you Wednesday evening.
Now, what happens if Frank gets sick?
How's it going?
Everything's
It'll be even more interesting.
Then we'll make the headlines in the newspaper.
But at that point, somebody can be appointed as a moderator pro tem,
Right.
so that there's
You're not
a
gonna get sick, Frank. You're not gonna get sick,
No,
Are
I'm
you going
just-
quarantine right now?
right, Steve? He's not gonna get sick.
No, can't.
We need to make sure he stays home.
Frank, I'll connect you and Terry with an email tomorrow and get you guys talking with legal counsel. It's going to be someone different than Laura. They brought on a new person who's handling all election stuff. So
That's fine, not a problem.
Thanks, Troy. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for joining us this
Guys.
evening.
I think I'll go out and see if I can catch a cold.
Take it easy, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Is that?
Karen's going to come join us now. The next item we have is Justin Healy, Eagle Scout Project. I believe Justin's with us via WebEx. There he is.
Hi.
Welcome. It's good to have you with us again. Mr. Brown.
Okay. Jake, can we hear Justin? Are you muted, Justin?
No, I think we can hear
No.
him. Say-
There you go.
Oh,
Okay.
there you are.
All right. I thought I saw him talking and didn't hear anything. So I think most of us have all been working with Justin for probably a year and a half now, when he came and approached the Board of Selectmen about his Eagle Scout project that he had decided he was going to undertake, which was going to be a monument here right on the town property by the pavilion. And it's a memorial for all of our first responders, and probably the timing of this project being completed couldn't have come at a better time when we see all of our first responders out there doing whatever they can to keep everyone safe during the pandemic. So, Justin, I think I'll turn it over to you, and just you can kind of recap what you've done here and officially, turn the project over to the town.
Sure. So let's see. How do I watch? So, hi, as many of you know already, my name is Justin Healy, and I'm a Life Scout of Troop 11. So, I'm here tonight to present my final first responder monument to the Board of Selectmen in the town of Litchfield for acceptance. I'd like to thank everyone who helped me throughout this process. It's been a long journey, but it turned out great in the end, and I'm very happy that we were able to get it done. Once we're able to have large groups again, I'd like to have a formal dedication to present this to the town. And my Eagle project is finished based on my original proposal, but in the fall, I plan to have flowers put around the monument. We'll probably be out there on some weekends planting perennials and different kinds of flowers out there. There are some funds left over, and the troop will write a check to the town to go into an account for repair and general needs of the monument. And Mr. Brown, I'll get you the paper to sign as soon as I can.
Yeah, Justin, what you emailed me to sign was, you didn't want me to print that out and sign that. You're gonna get something else to me?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, Justin, I think it looks fantastic, and thank you very much for that gift to the town and to our first responders. We greatly appreciate all the efforts that you've put forth over the last year and a half. I know it's been a long project for you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Justin. I too was a member of the Troop 11 when I was growing up. It's been a while.
Yeah.
I bet you weren't an Eagle Scout.
No, he was a buzzard. Very good job. It looks really nice out there.
The love
It's
here.
really, really nice out there.
He didn't join because he got kicked out.
So we look forward to being able to dedicate it once we can have large groups again. Once again, thanks for your efforts, Justin, and thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
We'll sign that.
Have a good evening.
There he goes.
We've already taken care of the CARES Act election grant funding acceptance. Next is budget review. First item is information technology, 4150.20. Mr. Brown.
There's John.
John's doing this.
So I will, John Burnell, our IT director, he will, like other department heads, present and just go through the highlights of his budget that he's put together. Is that John, do you want to go ahead?
Do we have a-
Yep, can everybody hear me okay?
We can. Welcome.
It's not a
Thank you very much.
Where's this pretty face?
I am displaying it too for your, if you want to, whoever wants to follow along on the board behind Mr. LaSalle. But so basically, starting with account 341, which is the telephone and data lines, that is represents a basically run rate for the last couple of years in our consistent billing all last year or this year. And this is one highlight there. We did move the dedicated circuits for the police department into this budget because we're going to be discontinuing next year. So we're showing 6 months of it in our budget. We zeroed it out on the PD side. This is the radio communications, part of the radio communications upgrade project. So this stuff is all retired. So we just moved over here for cleaning it up. Again, this account covers all of our data services, all of our phone services, townwide, and also all of our wireless communication services, which are cell phones, data communications, and stuff like that. Again, it's based on our current run rate, month-over-month billing. So line 342, which is our software support line, it's pretty much made up of contracts and yearly expenses for services that we get from different vendors. The one big notable increase there is probably our Google services. So our usage of Google, which is our email, spreadsheets, and things like that, are used by pretty much all entities within the town. And so we've increased it from, we're currently right now seeing about 122 seats are being used. This number represents 130. So every committee that comes on board gets an account. They get to use it for collaborating and sharing documentation. Line 630, which is our equipment maintenance, which is $36,120. It is down a little bit. The biggest change here is I started decreasing our contract services. That was a service line that we had in place to be my backup when I was either hit by a truck and or just not available. But over the last 5 years, we really haven't used it. And the 2,000 that's represented there today is the sign-on fee for them to come out if we have to get them to come out to cover us for a period of time. The IT manager line is my contract rate today. The only other addition here that's new, probably that hasn't been in the past, is the door security maintenance plan. That is basically the software maintenance for all the door security we put in across the town over the last year and a half or so, and that's $850. So moving on to count 740, which is equipment purchases. The biggest change here is around the computer upgrade process or program. So over the last 8 years or so, we take 4 to 5 computers and we basically swap them out for newer technology, and we either rotate them down or dispose of them. This year, this cost represents not just the computer itself, but also the monitors. We have a fair amount of monitors today that need to be replaced because they're either faded, they're hard to see, or they're just getting old, and they're small in some cases. The second expense that's kind of new or a change is we have a Chromebooks that we provide to several committees, and they're floating around different departments to be used for presentations and on-the-go kind of things. All of them are about 5 to 7 years old, and they're no longer supported as of the end of this year. So that is an estimated cost to replace 4 that we have in our inventory. The next change is the ID printer. So there is a requirement by the police department and fire department to have proper IDs. We had a very low-end printer for a long time that was purchased by the previous chief, well, 5 or 6 years ago. That printer actually died this year and has been non-functional and not repairable at this point. So we need to replace that. And that's the $4,500 is that cost. And that is the hardware plus a little bit of software. The next line is the Mtp replacement. This is a continuation of what we had last year. We have 5 frontline MDTs, which are the mobile data terminals in the police cruisers. Mm-hmm. This is just replacing these units. They're about 10 years old, or average. They're anywhere between 5 years old and 10 years old. We've had them around for a while. Next one is a copier. That's Troy. I don't know much about that, and that's it on that budget there. The next one is the next line is account 741, which is the equipment leases. That is the lease for the two copiers that are located in the town hall, I believe, and that's something that Troy and the admin staff take care of. And that is the major changes or highlights. I'll take any questions if there are any.
Gentlemen, any questions?
I have one on the printer. There was talk about getting a large scanning type printer, a scanner. Is that part of the IT budget?
It is. We've already been authorized to purchase it. There is no, other than usage fees, which is just toner and stuff like that. That usually comes out of the administration side. But that printer is being acquired. It's actually coming in back order. We probably ordered it too late, but
So
it's in back order and it'll be here.
So you got it in this year's budget, right?
It's coming out of this year's budget, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So the largest increase is just consolidated voice, fax, and data services.
Yeah, and I think if for those who were part last year, we did a lot of improvements between the fire department and the town hall police department. And those services are actually fully loaded this time, or in this budget here. But that is predominantly it. It's basically usage and just the additional services we had to put in place. And the one thing I didn't include in this budget, because it wasn't part of it when I planned it, we just acquired 3 additional phones for elections. That's not showing in the Verizon monthlies, just because it wasn't there at the time. And that's probably about $30 or $40 a phone. Times 3 per month. So I have to kind of figure that out. But at this point, I don't know if we're going to keep them. We're committed to a year at this point, but
okay,
just be aware of that.
Okay. And then I know, it's not really John's place to point it out, but I just wanted to make sure that remind everyone that John's contract for the services he provides expires December 31st this year. And so we will, as a board, need to continue to discuss that and come to an agreement before the end of, hopefully before we can
Next
get this
week?
to the budget committee.
Yeah, beginning of October.
We got time.
All right, gentlemen, do we have any other questions for Mr. Brunel?
No.
All right, thank you, John. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good night, guys. I'll
Thank
be
you,
silent
John.
in the background.
Thank you. Take care. Next, we have Library 4550.20. Mr. Brown.
Hey, it's Vicky.
Here's Vicky. Vicky, you have anyone else with you this evening, or
Donna is here also.
Donna? Okay.
Welcome.
Hi.
I like this one. We got a hand down.
Yeah. So the board, you have a printed copy of the library's budget.
So nice to have. Let's go.
That's fine.
Set?
Yep. Yeah, I think we're all set.
Okay. All right. So I'll just hit the highlights as well. We have increase in wages that will include merit increases. There's a bit of an increase in 140 for the health insurance buyout as we enter our second year of the phased-in plan. We do have an employee who is taking health and dental insurance. As you know, you've been covering that this year, and that will continue. So that will now be in our budget. And then the associated costs that go along with Social Security and Medicare. We just have moderate increases in other parts of the budget for software licenses, equipment contracts. It's our year for septic tank cleaning. And we have some small increases in our New Hampshire downloadable books program and Mango languages, and a bit of an increase in our replacement computer costs. We have two outstanding unknowns right now. One would be the rate will be charged for heating oil through the school contract. Thank you, Troy, for sending a message out to Corey. I had that on my list for today, too. And then also whatever the 2021 insurance rates will be.
I don't have to do
It's
that
a
anymore.
rather uneventful budget, except for the cost of the insurance.
Thank you, Vicky. Anybody have any questions?
And of course, it's always stated that this during this review, this information is being shared with the board as a courtesy. The trustees are actually, they have the authority to put together the budget, and they will present to the budget committee. The budget committee will adopt their budget. So this is provided to you as a courtesy.
I have one question. Vicky, I know you called me
Yes.
about HVAC and all that. Have you had any luck?
Right.
Have you had any luck yet?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, I'll get back to you on.
We didn't get any. Okay.
I told some guys to call you, but they haven't called you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Do we have any questions with the library's budget?
I don't.
Okay, if not, we can move on to the review of the Memorandum of Understanding with the library. Mr. Brown.
All right, so I think the timing is good for the review of two agreements that I'm aware of. And Ricky, if you're aware of any others, now's a good night to bring it up to our attention. But the first one is the health insurance agreement, and this was documented back in September of 2013. It was between the library trustees and the Board of Selectmen. I wasn't around then. I'm sure Vicky was, and I believe the background on this is that, when when the library trustees were putting together their annual budget, they, because of their budget being so small, they were carrying probably a contingency in case someone actually chose somewhere throughout the year to sign up for health and dental insurance. I think maybe there was some discussion between the budget committee and the selectmen of ways of looking to reduce the budget. And the selectmen came forward and said, well, you know what? If that happens to the library trustees, we'll come to an agreement that we'll absorb that cost. So if we have an employee, for example, what's happened this year, right around March, I think it was, we had a library employee who previously had not signed up for health insurance, but due to their situation, they signed up. That was not accounted for in the library budget. So we absorbed that cost in our operating budget.
You said March, right?
And what that did was it removed that contingency from the library's operating budget. But as we can see now, I think this year, the cost that we're going to have to absorb is around $26,000 in our operating budget. And, you know, that's something if going forward, this is an agreement that we're going to have in place, then I'm going to sit here and recommend to the Board of Selectmen that we need to carry a contingency. So someone needs to carry a contingency for this unexpected benefit cost.
Can I jump in?
Sure. And I may have got it wrong, Vicky. I'm sorry. I wasn't here. But
It's okay. What originally happened was this was something that concerned me every year, the what if. And so at the time of our budget presentation, we asked the budget committee about having a
warrant article.
Yes, a warrant article to put money aside for this, and they refused. We've never had any money in our budget at all as a contingency. And so that was when the selectmen did decide to be our contingency fund. But I agree with you, there should be something somewhere, either one of us to take care of this and not have these unexpected expenses hurt us.
And that's referring to dental and health, correct?
Right.
It's in the operating budget now that you presented. Right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
I don't know how the rest of you feel, but my opinion is it should reside in the budget where it's going to be needed. I think the
agree.
contingency either has to be there for the library or it has to be there within the selectmen, but since it's part of the library's budget, we should put that anticipated cost in their budget.
That's where the
Contingency.
cost comes from.
Yeah.
That's where it should go.
Right, but we're referring to unanticipated
I
costs.
understand.
Correct. So, I mean,
When did this all come down? In March, you said?
So it would have been back in 2013.
when it can force.
And
this-
Vicky is, yeah, I think that's what I think you had given me a briefing about a year ago on this. And so exactly, that's what happened. And now I understand why the selectmen got involved. The library trustees would have been asking the selectmen to place an article on the warrant to create an expendable, trust fund for this unanticipated cost. And probably a discussion between the budget committee, library trustees, and the selectmen about whether or not there was support for that article. And the ultimate outcome would have been maybe this MOU, the selectmen saying, well, let's take the article off the warrant and we'll have an MOU saying that we'll cover any of that unanticipated cost.
And the tough part is what dollar value do you plug in for unanticipated funds? Because it could be 0 employee, it could be 1 employee, it could be 2 employees, it could be all over the board. So, what dollar value do you plug in?
Typically, we would, if I were to budget, I would budget the cost of a family plan, which is the worst.
Yeah, worst case, about
And
1.
again, that would only be for 1 employee. This scenario could play out for how many employees they have on health insurance that are not taking,
Four.
it, you know, 4 that are opting not to take it today. And for whatever reason,
Yeah,
could find themselves signing up for health insurance.
No,
And there's a large cost to that.
yes.
just based off what's happened in the world today, when
Yeah.
when one employee, one person who had the health insurance got discharged from the job because of the COVID, okay, this is where you come in and get to cover the family. And I bet it's gonna be the family plans in most cases.
Well, no matter what, it's going to show up in the budget somewhere. These
It's
costs.
logical.
And so you know, the thing to think about is, and I understand budget committee and a lot of taxpayers, they don't like to carry contingencies. And I understand why, because if the contingency is never used, now we've taxed the residents for a contingency. And, you know, that money's not guaranteed. It could be used for other purposes. So I think that's probably why there was a discussion about actually having
Memorandum.
expendable trust funds, because those funds would be
It's true.
limited to only that specific use. And if we go 3 years with no unanticipated cost, there's no need to replenish the fund. So it could be something that we could all discuss again this year, and the trust fund itself could be inclusive of the library and town. We have a
both.
larger budget, so we tend, when we have a vacancy with an employee and then we hire a new person, at the end of the day, it usually works out, but it could go the wrong direction for us. So there's a need for us too. We don't budget a contingency.
Could this be budgeted for the whole town, health insurance? With a warrant?
I think it could be for the
Yeah.
library and
In the town.
the town.
I think it's needed because based off what's going on right now.
I think it's one of those things we earmark when we come up talking about warrant articles that we discuss.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Put it
We're
back
going to
on
find
the
a way
agenda.
No, I mean, it's,
to handle it.
I mean, you can see now, we know, we have open enrollment now. So as you're budgeting for the 2020, 2021, we're budgeting current enrollment.
Yeah.
But Vicky could have another employee
Mhm.
in February, March this year. Same thing could happen.
Yeah.
So I will go ahead and just consult with legal, make sure we can cross, use library and town employees in the same expendable trust fund.
I think it's wise.
And draft a warrant article for consideration later this year,
Gentlemen,
if that's the wishes of the board.
How you feel about it?
I really don't know which way to go on that. Whatever, I think it should be in the library's hands because it's their employees and they're a separate entity. Can they get the funding that they need for it?
I have one question. Why is it not in the library's budget?
We talked about what we just said here, where it would be a contingency for all town employees, which includes the library.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm saying if this person is employed now,
Mhm.
It
has
is,
chose to not take the insurance, then decided to take the insurance, why is the library not paying it?
we have this agreement that if it happens during the current budget year, that the selectmen would absorb that cost.
I understand that.
So in
but we're
2021,
Right.
Vicky has budgeted for the cost of this.
Okay, so it's really a lewd point at this point, but it
It
can
is.
happen again.
But it could happen to us again
Yeah.
in 2021.
Yeah.
Another library
Anytime you have a
employee.
life change, you're able to
It
go
was a
in
little
and change it.
confusing for.
No, I know,
for a
it's-
minute.
you're going
I
from-
appreciate the
No.
explanation.
So how do we help her absorb this? Is, I guess, the question.
If
Well,
this
she's put it in the
happens
budget
future,
already.
since budget
It's
is
in her
so
budget now.
small,
It's in the budget already.
How do we go and
And
So we
so,
leave it right there.
Sounds like we're just looking to, this is something that should be discussed and a warrant should be made probably.
I just think it's worth having that
agree.
discussion. Maybe there's no commitment for the warrant, but it's worth maybe drafting the warrant article and we discuss it. I'm sure the budget committee will weigh in on it and we'll all, and the library trustees and selectmen just kind of see what we
But it's
think.
unfair to the town that we have to absorb that, and unfair to you guys.
Yeah, that's
You
a
have
lot.
to find that
It's a lot of money.
$25,000.
Yeah.
I mean,
Their budget's tight.
Yeah.
warrant's the only solution.
The library's budget's really tight.
It really is.
Yeah, it's a tight budget. We could get it for the police and fire.
All right, so
So that's that MOU. And I think, so we'll just proceed.
proceed, I think, let's start looking at, talk to
Let's
legal,
proceed
and
it
see if
this
we can
way.
do a warrant article. to see
Leave
if
it
we
in
can
here
address
and
it.
we'll look at the warrant
Let's
factor.
have a conversation with the budget committee. and-
Yep.
I'm good with that.
And then Vicky, there's another memo. I believe I shared it with you and I'm sure you were, actually, you probably shared it with me because she was watching our meeting, our last meeting. When we
Oh
were
my
talking
God.
about crack sealing and striping our parking lots. And so she had reached out to me and reminded me that the Board of Selectmen had an agreement where we would maintain the library parking lot for plowing and also cleaning the catch basins. So you want to provide us just the background on why this memo was written? I know Roland Bergeron signed it as the road agent, but on behalf of the Board of Selectmen.
I believe it predated that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the plowing portion,
Okay.
but definitely the catch basin portion. In my 22 years, we've never had to pay for the catch basins or I don't know about the maintenance of the parking lot. I guess it's just understood that it is town-held land, and the trustees have say over the contents of the building and the service area. And it really just doesn't make sense for us to try and handle crack sealing or whatever needs to be done out there. We have no expertise in that area. It's a very small project, and it just seems to me that, as part of a bigger project with the town, the cost would be less, economies of scale. But, for instance, I have absolutely no idea what crack sealing costs. And I know, Troy, you asked if we would be able to help contribute to that. It's possible that we can, but without knowing what the amount is. We do have the Building Maintenance Trust Fund, and that was brought up as well. Historically, that's been used for roof maintenance and brick repointing. It helped pay for to have the lift put in to the building to become ADA compliant. Right now, the funds, I would imagine the vast majority will go to the replacement for the HVAC system. So it is something that needs to build up over time to be able to help mitigate these larger costs. It also is used for periodic window washing. What else does it get used for? We've had to use it for some tree trimming, tree removal, those types of things.
Yeah.
So I'm not opposed to entertaining the notion of contributing in this case. But again, it's just the whole building is a difficult thing for us to handle because, again, I'm always going to Kevin because we just don't know anything about these maintenance issues.
Well, may I speak, Mr. Chair?
Of course.
In this case here, you're looking at parking lot maintenance. That's correct? Vicky, is that what
Correct.
you're looking for? And I know that driveway. I think Jack knows his driveway very well. He's plowed it enough. But
Yeah.
it's I think we ought to just get a price, okay, to crack seal, coat it, and mark it and remark it if it has to be remarked, okay? But once you do the crack sealing or if you do the sealing, you got to do more with the line striping. Same as that we have to do out here. Ours in the town hall right now are poor. Okay, that has to be done. So I think it's a budget item. This is a maintenance thing, so it could be put in the budget as a warrant or something like that, or in the operating budget. I do not know. Back in the days, the town did a lot of the work for the library. Roland, I know, worked with you guys to put the drainage in and stuff like that. Cut across the road and all kinds of stuff. But that's the only way that I can see this being doing is let's get a number. Let's do what we have to do to maintain the driveway because we should be doing it here as well, Mr. Brown.
So that's what brought up the conversation we were discussing.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
You're looking at the old
Fire
firehouse.
station.
I know.
at the last meeting,
Yes.
I discussed the police station, town office, and the old town hall.
But the
Vicky
library.
heard that conversation, reached out to me saying, hey, just want to make you aware of this memo where the town had said, would maintain and plow the library parking lot.
That's
So
fine.
right now, we're in the process of collecting estimates for the library, the old town hall, and the police department town hall.
Good.
So we'll have those estimates.
Okay.
But I don't believe that this memo indicates that that we would have to pay to seal and crack, your parking lot. I think that you could use your trust fund. Your concern is, yeah, we might be able to. I don't know what the estimate, what the cost is, and that's a library trustee decision. But the most important thing here is to realize that we have written correspondence from Roland Bergeron, just
Well, it's better
confirming that the Board of Selectmen had agreed that they would maintain and plow the library parking lot. And the gravel road entrance, must have been maybe pulling out on the 3A maybe at that point in time. And then you have a catch basin that we'd have to pump, so.
I personally don't see why we, the town, cannot do what we're doing here to this agreement all the way along, because it's going to come out of this hand or this hand. Okay, it all comes out of the same hand. The plowing, getting a price like we do everything else on that. We did it to the old the firehouse and town hall, aka historical building, and now the cable building. Got to deal with that. We got that one too.
And I think crack sealing would come under maintenance.
I think it should, because
No, yeah, I'm just.
in the catch basin, do it. We're in town.
We've been cleaning that catch basin forever.
I know we have.
The
It's
cost is minimal.
nothing.
I don't see why we wouldn't take it.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not pointing that out. I'm just pointing out.
I know you are. We know that.
I think it's been a long-standing practice that this town's maintained the parking lot, plowing, sanding, salting,
Fixing
cleaning the
hot
catch
tub.
basin. And, so we'll get the bids together for the
Good.
crack sealing and striping. And I just wanted to make you aware that
Thank you.
there are funds available that the library trustees could use to cover that expense. We could coordinate it all and get that, volume discount.
See what the prices come in at.
Okay.
Thanks for
Okay.
reaching out, Troy. I
Good with
appreciate
you,
that.
Vicky?
Are you okay with that, Vicky?
Yes.
I just have a question. Are there still funds from the original donation of the building? Are there still funds?
There are. That's the trust fund I was referring to, the building maintenance fund.
Do you know how much is in that account right now?
We currently have $65,000.
Is that controlled by the trustees or the trustees of town funds?
Trustees of trust funds.
Okay,
The town trustees of trust funds, yes.
okay. As opposed to the library trustees?
Correct.
Just another series of questions here. How there are 4 employees, a custodian and a page. How many?
2 pages.
2 pages. How many hours do they work? Do you know?
Let's be on there too. The librarians and one assistant librarian work 32 hours a week. We have a fill-in assistant that works 4 hours a week. The custodian works 5.5. And the pages, one works 5, one works 5.5 during the normal time of the year. And there are additional hours that get added on during summer reading.
Okay. So that the director, the children's librarian, the adult services librarian all work 32.
Correct. And one of the assistant librarians.
And what do the pages do?
Pages, they're the ones that check books in, shelf books, make sure everything's in order. They do copy forms that we need, any little jobs. They help in the children's department a lot with getting activities ready that the children's librarian is doing.
Do you keep track of usage?
Yes.
Is that available?
It's a little low right now, Rich.
No, I understand. I understand.
Yeah. I'll just say in the past, we have averaged about 98 patrons a day.
At a normal, during the weekday.
Right. Well, that is an average over the year because in the summer, obviously, it spikes. But so a yearly average of 98.
Do you still do the story hours?
We do.
Okay.
We have story time for preschoolers. We have Mother Goose on the Loose for infants and toddlers. We have 2 book clubs for the adults. We put on monthly programs as well for adults. And then a ton of stuff in the summer. And other things here and there as well.
How did the COVID affect your operations?
Tremendously. It's caused a lot more work in one area, but it's changed a lot of what everyone does. I mean, we're not open. We're open for curbside pickup. We're still purchasing materials. We're still processing materials. Everybody has work to do. It's just we can't let the patrons in the building. That means that our programming goes virtual.
And you have public access to Wi-Fi in your parking lot, correct?
Correct. Yes.
How is that reflected in your budget?
I'm not sure what you mean. We don't have a cost from Comcast. As a public library, we do get some free services.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good. I mean, do you have people that pull up in your parking lot and you can see them out there?
Oh, yeah. Yes, we do. They'll also sit out and use the picnic tables.
Oh, that's good.
You see them there a lot.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's good.
Even in the winter.
So no one's
Thank you.
using the Florence Center reading room, huh? Not at this point?
So do we have any other questions for Vicky? Okay, hearing none. Vicky, thank you so much for being in attendance this evening. We appreciate it.
You bet.
Have a great evening.
You too.
Thank you. The next is Mosquito District 4411.20. Mr. Brown.
Mosquito. So this is the contract that we have. We've reached out to the contractor, asked them to give us a new proposal for 2021. They've again honored the price that they have for the past several years. So the price is $31,850. What that does, it does carry a contingency of $1,000 for one application of the school and rec facilities. If in the fall,
We get a hit.
we get a hit, they'll go and do a treatment. So that first treatment is covered with the $1,000. After that, and we've never really had to do another treatment in the last couple of years. But
Lucky.
we've been lucky. So and I would think with the drought this year, we'll be fine again.
And this is only if we get what? West Nile and Tripoli?
So, but primarily this money is the cost of this service. It starts off early in the year where they work with the state of New Hampshire, getting the permit in place to have an application of, mosquito control. They're going out on a monthly basis, doing tests through all kinds of different areas in town, finding out what's going on with the population of mosquitoes in the area and reporting those findings to the state. So they really know our town extremely well. They've got the established testing areas. So it's a good program. It's been very helpful.
At the test,
We used it. When was the last we did this special application? There were
we had
some
one
event
bite.
going on. I know there was something.
Yeah, we had one bite a while back ago.
Yeah. But
Do you get like an annual report from them?
they submit an annual report at the end of the year to the state as part of we literally have a permit, with the state for this program. And so, yeah, I do get a report.
Do they tell you what the result of all their tests and so forth are as far as the mosquitoes are?
Yeah, it's sort of, I'm not that great at interpreting the data, but they have a percentage of, a count of different types of.
Where all do they spray?
Well, most of this money is, this is pretty much just testing.
So there's no application?
There's $1,000 in here for
We
application.
carry $1,000 for an application if we need to. So they're pretty much monitoring the population through, from the spring till late fall. And
So there's
if
no-
we start getting hits with West Nile, those types of diseases, that's when they come forward and they say, okay, we'll need we need to do a treatment.
The reason I ask is that I've seen a couple of years where there'll be somebody come to the school across from where I live, and they will have a truck.
Yeah.
And they'll go around all the fields spraying up into the woods and so forth. That's not the same people.
Yes.
It should be the same people, but I don't know if they do it. They don't do it on an annual basis, only when
I've seen them at least a couple of times.
really.
There's been 2 times that we've been down at the school, at least 2 or 3. I've been with them most of the time when I was here as a health official. I brought them to all the sites because I can get them in and get them out. We got out of there quick. The pickup truck with the
Yeah.
spray
Yeah.
and the whole 9 yards. We haven't done the schools this year or last year because we didn't get any triple E hits. We only do it if we're visited by that mosquito. We get reports that they got some in London, they got some in Manchester or across the river, but they can't swim across the river. But only time we really get concerned if we get them in town close to where our sporting facilities are. And then the rec commission and the town will go out with mosquito guys and we'll do the whole town. All the rec fields, the schools, everything. And I was escorting them around when I did it at night.
Now, do they do like around the town hall?
No, they don't do around here. We do where there's a congregation of children or sports and stuff
Oh,
like
okay.
that.
Where the public gathers?
Correct.
It's usually a school and rec.
Yeah.
And
School
they
and
test,
rec.
if I remember, every month except for January and February. I think those are the only 2 months, and other than that, every other month they come through and they do some type of testing.
They've been testing all along.
Do they do the river access and Moore's Falls?
No, they do not do that at all.
That's probably where they.
Well, I'm more concerned with the poison ivy. That's probably going to get that more.
That too.
Okay. The triple E, we haven't added that to the list, if I recall, 'cause I'm not part of this anymore, but the Moores Falls, we never did anything down there. 'Cause that's what it is. It's the woods. You'll be spraying everything. You won't gain a lot down there. 'Cause you don't have a heavy congregation till recently. As for the river access, that's new. Never put that on the list that I know of.
Being a rec facility, I mean, it should be part of it.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get that many people you would
Right.
think at once,
But
but
you're,
if we're doing.
you're
rec
down by the river. I
facilities,
don't know how you're gonna.
How you gonna control?
How you gonna do it by the river? I don't see how it works.
That's gonna be tough.
So I think I was just looking at the contract, Rich, and you are right.
Deep woods.
So they do a barrier spray
That's what it's called.
in August and in September. And then in October, if one's needed, that's the one that's $1,000. So they'll do the barrier spray at schools and public grounds. But the public grounds, I believe, is Sawmill. It's all of our parks.
Sports.
It's the sports parks. So, and they also going around and putting in, they're treating catch basins and putting in treatments there to prevent the mosquitoes from
Do
popping.
they have little collection boxes or something for
I've seen
mosquitoes?
they'll go down into a catch basin and collect samples and then bring those, and analyze them to see what the count is. And
Oh, okay.
yeah, and they'll also put down, one of those dunk little bricks there that will
They're running out of
allow
water.
side, to prevent the mosquitoes from developing into mature, mosquitoes. So
I'm just wondering how they catch the mosquitoes that they test.
Bring back to the lab.
they bring them back to a lab and
Yeah, but how do they physically catch them?
they've got, like you say, they have the nets and they have traps set out
Okay, so it's like,
areas.
what's that thing that you put in your garden with
Sticky tape.
what's that?
Sticky tape.
Yes,
That's what they use.
with like ferrol or whatever hormones.
Yeah, they do it on a weekly. They have a weekly mosquito trapping and testing program.
It looks like they
So
do
on a
that
weekly
from June
basis.
all the way through October.
Yeah,
What are you looking at?
there's a
It's a document
link
that's in the link on the
to
sites.
the contract. So if you put your mouse just over that,
Do we still have the mosquito control group here in town?
um,
Good luck.
we do not have the committee is actually been dissolved officially by the Board of Selectmen, but there's still Mr. Latcher is still
Active.
he's still active and communicates with me and he follows it. Yeah.
My understanding, they turned it over to the Board of Health, because no one really wanted to be on the committee. Except for John.
Perhaps we should invest in some bats.
We have a bat house.
We got plenty in my house.
Where is that bat house? I ain't gonna ask again.
I have a bat house and we have bats and they supposedly eat thousands of
A
mosquitoes.
day. Yeah.
And there are two bats. One of them I named for John Latcher.
John's.
All right, do we have any more questions on the mosquito budget?
No.
It's a true story.
Hearing none, we're gonna move to health agencies, which is 44, 15, 10.
So the next two, the health agencies and insurances.
Oh, shit.
The health agency letters aren't all in yet, and the insurance policies that we have, they don't get renewed until late October, early November. So there's really no reason to even turn to those at this point in time. I would go to general government.
Yep, so we'll go to general government
4194.
facilities, 4194.10.
Jumping all over the place here.
Mine just went bye-bye.
General government buildings.
Yep.
Why is there such a drastic change in budget?
Well, it's still scary. So the greatest change is we have a new line item this year at the very bottom in the amount of $150,890. That's $150,890. And that's the first payment for the 5-year lease purchase of the radio communication tower project. So the bottom line here you'll see is, Mr. Pinciero just pointed out, the bottom line of this budget is it has an increase of $162,790, of which 150
goes to that one.
Almost
Is that-
151 is that, yeah.
is that lease purchase.
Price of gas going up?
No, so if we go back to, if we start off with custodian wages, that's projected to be an increase of $3,700. And that's due directly to COVID. I in this budget here, I didn't, what I did was I just planned to continue to have the extra hour 5 days a week for cleaning the town hall. So right now, our custodian comes by, and every night he'll go through and he'll hit all those high touch items, the doorknobs and the light switches and faucet handles, and then the next night when he's in here, he does the actual cleaning, the vacuuming and mopping floors and stuff. So I don't know what the board wants to do there, but I figured that I would at least carry 12 months of 5 extra hours a week. And that's a direct increase of $3,700.
But this is for the next year,
This
right?
is, starting January 2021. So it's something we could look at when we, it could be something that the board might be comfortable saying, well, can we budget just 1 quarter, or can we budget 6 months?
Can that be reimbursed?
Well, I don't know if there's going to be federal funds available in 2021. It's reimbursable at this point in time with our Gopher funds, and we're getting reimbursement. But in 2021, I don't know what federal funds are going to be out there. And, the government may take, I don't know what they'll do. They may take the position, while some of this cost you had more than adequate time to budget and plan for. I don't know if that will be their
Because I know custodian is
position or
also
not.
something that the rec's really struggling with right now, because right now they have a couple hours a week.
Yeah.
If they're going to start using town hall again, how often they're going to have to clean it, and what's that line item to be? So I know they're struggling desperately right now on what number to plug in there. What is the right cleaning per CDC, or just keep it shut?
So this would be 17 hours a week, Monday through Friday,
Yeah, but he comes in on Sunday nights.
on Sunday nights.
Yeah.
And does he?
So he'll do he comes in pretty much Sunday through, and he'll come in on Fridays.
He goes through the whole building.
So, kind of rotation where he'll do the actual cleaning, the traditional vacuuming, mopping floors and changing out. And then every other day he'll come in and do the high touch areas, just disinfect handles and countertops.
Every doorknob, all the
Every
push bars,
doorknob.
everything.
Is he on the police side too? Or-
Yes.
He does the
Both
police
sides?
sides, both
Okay.
sides.
Yeah. I'm okay
Just
with it.
town hall, though?
So he's just doing the town hall and the police, and then he does do, as we just said, Talon Hall.
He does a record.
But right now, Talon
But he
Hall's
hasn't done
closed,
that
so he's
since
not
March.
doing Talon Hall right now.
How about the fire station?
No,
They do their own.
there's 2 guys there all day.
About the library has custodian. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, they're on, yeah.
Any other town buildings?
They do their own. So highway and solid waste will do they do their own cleaning.
52 hours. Okay.
The next line item, it's there because for historical purposes, if you look back, of just trying to compare actual costs and budget appropriations, is the county prison community service program, which we have not used because it's just not been available for the past couple of years. So that line item is still there. We hope that it'll come back one day and we could take advantage of it, but not planning on using it this year. The electric, so general government buildings, we use, we cover the electric for the town hall, the police station, the old fire station, and now talking with John Burnell, the communication towers that are going to be installed. We're, even though we have, I think, 4 or 5 different locations, 2 of them will have a power source added. And that will be the up on Colonial Drive at the water tower, and also down not at the old fire station, the town hall. Yeah, there at Roy Memorial Park. That will have its own utility pole and meter.
Yep.
Because if you've seen where they're installing it, it's in the parking lot, sort of over there by the batting cage area. So what we've done is the one at Colonial Drive, we're guessing that that's going to be at about $1,000 a year, and the one down at Roy Memorial Park, we're thinking about $500.
What's the difference?
Yeah.
The one at Colonial is the larger backbone operation, and that will have an AC unit that will be cooling, keeping the equipment cool.
There's going to be a shack up there.
It's going to be there'll be a cabinet, and that as I understand, that is the backbone of the system. So there'll be a lot more equipment there and the bigger.
That's the main one.
Does that cover the entire north end?
Well, it's going to be the highest point, so it's going to probably get the most activity, sending out the signals and stuff.
I mean,
To
we have-
everything,
We have the old town hall, we have Talent.
Yeah, and then you got Morgan Road, which is a private cell tower out there that we're going to have equipment on.
All right.
Yeah.
That's a trivia question. Where's Morgan Road?
Yeah.
It doesn't relate to anybody who was there either.
Yeah, you guys know. Okay, so the water charge is up $480. This is based on just looking at the actual cost. I think we all know that you can't really do a 3-year average here, because if you go back a couple of years ago, the rates were different than they are today, and I'm already projecting that they may have a rate increase in 2021. You'll see that when you look at your fire hydrant rental fees for 2021. No increase for the meeting house electricity. That's the old town hall. So one of the things that happens here, we lease that to the Historical Society for $1, and we pay the electric bill, but we turn around and bill them, and that's part of the deal. So even though it's an expense that shows up here in your budget, it's offset by a revenue source coming in. You'll see that in the revenue. So there's actually no tax impact.
Is there heat in that building?
What's that?
Is there heat in that building?
They winterize it in the winter, and so it's just
There's no heat in the winter.
no heat.
It's electric heat baseboard, and they shut it right down, and we clean out the water. Because that's fed from the old firehouse, and the firehouse, that's got the boiler room in the back there, but
So there is plumbing in there.
there's 2 bathrooms in there, and two sinks downstairs. But it's drained. Smith Plumbing, and he does it every year, traditionally.
And general buildings, maintenance and repair. So these are all the things that just come up, keeping up with painting and unexpected, just general repairs. They just happen. I took the 3-year average, and that's where I came up with the $8,062. Our trash container services, no change. That's for the dumpster that's over here between the fire station and the town hall police station. I did reduce the equipment repair and maintenance.
Yeah, some new units.
And the reason is that I have a feeling that, we some of this repair work gets charged to the line 430. Because when I was looking at 3-year averages and everything, they kind of vary. So trying to give a little credit there to that line. Gasoline. So this looks like gasoline's actually up, but it's not. For the last couple of years, I've taken a look at our consumption. We pretty much on average a good solid number. This is like the rock salt and propane, usage amounts. 18,500 gallons for gasoline to cover our police department, fire department, building, and highway. It's all regular fuel. We have a tank, so 18,500 gallons a year at an estimated cost of $2.50 a gallon, and that works out to be $46,250. That was the amount I budgeted last year, but the budget committee did reduce it as they went through and made some reductions. So, yes, it's an increase, but I'm, still just recommending that we stick to the 18.5 at $2.50 a gallon.
Do you know what the run rate is at this point?
At this point right now, from July, the run rate, so I do a July 2019 to June 2020. Our gallons right now is 17,821. We've had, back in 18, we had 18,163 gallons. In 19, we had 17,778. So my 18.5 is calculating in, of course now we've got some vacancies in our police department, but we did add, over the last couple of years, we've added 2 new police officers, and thinking that, there'd be some extra patrol out there. So that's where my 18.5 comes from.
Hasn't changed at all.
It's usually a good discussion with the budget committee.
Yep.
It always is. And with the budget committee, we'll discuss the amount of gallons that we should be planning to use for 2021. And I'm sure we'll have a discussion about what we should use as an estimated cost. So the last couple of years, $2.50 has been acceptable. I know the price of fuel is down right now. But again, we're trying to project what the price might be in July 2021. And I just don't have a crystal ball. So,
Do we participate with school?
not with the regular gas. They use the West Road. From my understanding, they use the West Road Irving gas station. They used to utilize our system, but I think they just found it easier to go to the West Road facility. They have a fleet card.
Where does the town get theirs?
We buy ours from Burke Oil.
Okay.
And
You have a tank
it
here?
comes up. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They bring it in. It's based on a cash price. So you see the pricing per gallon. It goes up and down with the market.
By a bulk, it's a little less. That's the idea.
Yeah. I mean, I will admit, we had gas right now. We're paying, I think I saw it at like $1.70 a gallon. It was right around that ballpark what the town was paying. Yeah.
Who knows next year?
But I've seen it up to, with the regular fuel, I've seen us up to, almost $3 a gallon too. So
It was 4 something a few years ago.
yeah.
So you don't know the answer.
You just don't go out to eat as much.
So 2,500. So yeah, really trying, so that will, I know that will be discussed with the budget committee. The next big increase is the custodial maintenance and supplies. You see an increase there of $2,691. In my notes, I have that on average, a 3-year average, we spend $1,591. And I put in an extra $2,500 for the 2021 for COVID supplies. They are expensive. I can tell you right now. The hand sanitizers and again, I don't know. I was thinking that this 2,500 would go a long ways in trying to purchase the hand sanitizers, the mask, and anything that we would need. Not knowing if there's going to be reimbursement out there for those supplies. And the next line, furniture and fixtures. So typically we carry $500 in this line, and this would be for replacing any general furniture in this room or throughout the town office. One of the things I'd like to propose to the Board of Selectmen is that I've budgeted $30 or 30 chairs at $70 each, and to try to look at updating the chairs that we have in this room as well as some of the ones that we have in the office, the common areas, in the planning board room. If you go in there, I call it the planning board room, but all these chairs that just they've hit the point where they're kind of past their useful life, and I think we should start making an effort to update the chairs.
Because we did these tables last year,
We
right?
did the tables last year, yeah, and I'd like to start working on the chairs. I mean, some
Well,
of
like
these
all the
maroon
chairs.
ones here, they don't even slide. Some of those wooden ones at your end, they starting to, we've had to throw out half of them. They're loosening up and
20 years, not bad.
no, it's good. So that's
Good choice, Jack. You was here when we did it.
And let's see. So that brings us down to the equipment lease, which we already discussed at $150,890.
Wow. That was voted in, though.
Yeah. No, it was needed.
And we'll own it. It's not really a lease, right?
It's a
gonna
loan.
own
I mean,
it.
it's a loan, and it will go away.
It's needed.
It's a 5-year
It's not
5-year commitment. It will go away.
Okay, do we have any other questions on the general government facilities?
I'm just wondering, with respect to your budgeting for COVID, since this is January of next year, if you could isolate all of those costs and just kind of set those aside, because there's at least a chance that those won't be necessary. I suppose you can go in and extract them.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
It'll depend on the election.
And with the tax cap, those would be the lines we'll be looking at.
Yeah, I don't know. You're going to have a tax cap discussion this year, and the budget committee will be looking at this, and then we get to the end of the year. If we have some funds available, we can take a look at encumbering some funds, or actually just purchasing, some of these supplies in advance to try to see if we can remove some of these anticipated costs. But at this point in time, sitting here in, August, I wanted to at least document it and get it on the table for
It's
discussion.
good to have an item there.
Yeah.
What's good about it too, if this COVID thing goes on, you got a number here that you can get reimbursement on it too.
Right.
And that's something we don't know what's going to happen. We have no idea what's going to happen there.
Okay, next item is town facilities permit. Mr.
Can I
Brown.
say one more thing on the
Sure.
last
Go
one?
ahead.
Is the $150,000 from the tower. When that thing is paid off, what happens to that line item there?
Shrinks to
Does
nothing.
that come off the tax rate? Are we going to continue to collect that from the taxpayers? Because
Well,
I'm a
the-
big proponent of giving it back to the people.
If
And I know it's only, might only be a couple of dollars off their taxes, but it's a good faith gesture, I think, on the part of the town to,
Well, that would go away. That cost would go away.
go away.
will no longer be a part of the budget.
Correct.
No, it would be
Okay.
zero.
Okay.
Is there a residual expense with respect to maintenance and so forth?
that may pop up a couple years. You know, that's a good question for John.
I would anticipate there'd be a maintenance
I
contract
think,
that would come in.
yeah, he's going to have a maintenance contract, but I have a feeling we didn't see it right now in 2021 because everything's warranted. So that's a real, I think John actually had mentioned that to me that, you know, in 2022, you're probably going to
You're gonna probably see a line item for that.
Can we get a 5-year warranty?
Well, I think it's not just so much warranty as there's actual work, but they have to go out there a couple times a year and they have to, you know, test things and make sure the signal's strong. And
Well,
So
like I
that's
say, it's just like when you buy something, you know, you get a full 4-year warranty on anything for, you buy a tractor or something like that.
Well, this is a lease. So during the period of the lease, I would anticipate there's no expense other than that.
It's, you know what, it's not a lease like we're leasing, even if you lease the pickup truck from Ford.
Yeah.
So that pickup truck comes with a warranty. During the lease period, you could exceed the warranty and still be responsible for maintenance, but you're still responsible for the maintenance, whatever is not covered under warranty. It's the same here. And it's really, when you call it, it's a lease purchase. It's just I think it's just a fancy name for nothing more than you took out a 5-year loan.
Yeah.
At the end, with the company that you use to finance it, you have the option of buying this stuff for $1. I don't know who wouldn't. I guess you could decide not to pay it off. They own it, and then I don't know. It's nothing more than a financing.
Another question towards that is the insurance on that. What's that going to do with our insurance?
It will be added to the insurance plan policy, and
Okay.
it will be factored in. But I couldn't tell you how much it's going to increase insurance. I can't see it being anything substantial, but there will be an increase.
Let's figure out what those are.
I'm sure those things are protected from lightning. I mean, they're obviously the biggest lightning rods.
Yeah, this surge protection
They'll
will
be
be
grounded.
They're all grounded. We got water, a water source, best ground around.
Yeah, I inspected one of them the other day before it was backfilled, the footing and everything, and you could see all the grounding wires in the foundation itself, the
graded
footing. It was pretty.
Pretty elaborate.
Yeah, it was pretty
It
substantial.
is. It's very substantial.
Yeah.
And when they do get struck and they blow up, the ground will pop beside them. The towers are on a separate structure, but the grounding's separate from that structure. It just works like that. It's amazing what happens when it pop out of the ground
I'm sure they get struck by lightning a
all the
lot.
time.
or a facilities permit.
Yeah, what's this one about?
Oh. So I just, you know what, I wanted to
We're
bring
done with
this.
the budget.
I wanted to bring
Oh,
this
we're done
back
with
to you.
budget.
Yeah.
That's it for the night.
It's a light.
That's it for this evening.
Your next meeting, we're going to be doing
Thank
a lot
you.
of budget.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it.
Anyhow, I just wanted to put this on the agenda because this board did review and discuss and voted on the permit that Dave Mellon wanted to update, the solid waste transfer facility permit. And shortly after this board took action on that, we were just going to have, solid waste facility and river access. And that's what we were going to put on the permit that was going to be displayed on the windshield of residents' cars. Shortly after that, the Rec Commission had a discussion about different facilities. And so I asked Dave to hold off on ordering the stickers. I worked with Dave and Chief Sergeant. And I coming back here now, I'm thinking that it would be best that we leave this facility permit sticker generic and that we just call it Litchfield Facilities. And then as we update ordinances or write new ordinances, we can reference that, you need to have a Litchfield facility permit.
Okay.
Because I don't know what's going to happen in the future. There's some discussion about down there at Roy Memorial Park. There's some other parks I'm hearing some discussion. So I think having a generic, sticker in the windshield, we can then reference that. But this board did vote on it, and I didn't want to go off and order something and it looked differently than what you voted on. So,
Make it simple.
yeah,
Litchfield Town Facilities.
And I don't think you need to vote or anything, but I just want to make sure it's on
Nope.
record. Yeah.
Makes sense.
And the next thing is travel policy. So this has come up. A lot of towns are adopting travel policies. We have employees asking us. They're starting to look into scheduling vacations. But I think right now we've had some people look into it, and then they come back saying, "Nah, we're not going to bother." But this is a draft policy that would clearly state that we are discouraging employees from traveling outside of the New England states. We are not allowing our employees to travel for business purposes, training purposes, for any non-essential training. So there is some essential training. A lot of our police officers are required to meet certain training levels to maintain their certification. So they may go to Massachusetts, they may go to Rhode Island, but those are required. You don't want to let those things lapse. And then
The CDC dropped its 14-day quarantine today guidelines.
Yeah.
So this is still a draft. I just wanted to introduce it to the board. Still working with the emergency management team and our legal counsel.
Okay.
But it's pretty much getting to the final document. So it talks about when we have an employee that would, for whatever reason, travel outside of the New England states, that they would be required to have a COVID-19 test before coming back to work. And if it tested positive, they would have to follow the standard protocols for quarantine.
Now with the CDC changing, we may want to look at this because at one point we have must quarantine for 14 days. I mean, we could put the caveat in there under the current CDC guidelines.
Yeah.
But on this CDC, it all depends where the training is. There are other areas in this country that the outburst is even greater than we are. We're very good in the Northeast.
I thought the way they worded, I didn't read the whole thing, was even it was out of state and out of country.
Yeah, out of state.
Doing-
So it's not just training. I just wanted to, that was one example that I
Yeah.
said, but it could be someone actually planning to get on a cruise ship and go to the Bahamas in, November,
Right.
if that's even possible. And
That's
so this
possible.
would be the policy that they would have to follow.
I'm sorry, and I apologize.
Yeah, that's all right.
Where are you referring? I don't know exactly where.
I haven't got it in mind because I lost it, but this is a policy that he has.
I understand, but
Travel, you on the,
Do you have the tree there?
My blew
under
it.
You in Google
under
Sites?
business?
yeah, but I'm not sure I'm in the right spot.
You're like me, I'm in a sense.
No, you have to, where's your
Here?
site? Yeah, so go to your site.
Sites.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't like that new one, so go back, you say got it and go back to classic.
I clicked the wrong button, so I'm over
And
here
now
and
scroll all the way down.
never win.
I just asked
And
Steve
it
to help
should
me.
come to upcoming.
Did the link work? I sent you.
Did? Perfect.
See, I've never been there before.
But I only got a few more items here, so we're pretty well set.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you very much. I apologize.
That's fine.
You don't have to apologize for computers.
So the big thing is that the Family First Coronavirus Response Act, it's an expansion of the Family Medical Leave Act, and it does state that if anything due to COVID, you're eligible for 80 hours of paid leave. So if someone, the way this policy is written, and this is where my attorney and I are still going back and forth, but it looks like if someone goes off and travels, they come back, they test positive for COVID, while they're out, they're eligible for up to 80 hours of paid leave.
Even if it was their vacation.
Even if it was their
Their vacation.
they decided to. to go on this. So, but you know, with that being said, like I said, I've talked to a couple employees that were actually just kind of wondering what the town policy was, and then as they started looking into it more, they're like, I really don't think you're going to see too many people traveling for pleasure in the next 3 to 4 months. It's
Cancel
just
all
too,
vacations.
it's too risky. And so, but we do need to have a policy in place if that does occur. So this will be coming back to you in your next meeting, and I'll keep you updated on the, you know, any changes. But
It looks good.
like I said, I think it's like 95% done.
Yeah.
Let's get to work.
All right, next we have administrative report. Mr. Brown.
All right, real quick. Planning board. So I know that you're aware that the planning board is actually doing a survey of trying to get some feedback from residents on town facilities. And so I learned about this, and since I'm working with this capital improvements committee, and we've been working with department heads on putting together the CIP plan, I thought I reached out to the planning board and said, hey, I think we really should share this with everyone and just start getting some feedback before you go and put this out. It's a planning board effort here, so it's not something we're doing, and so everyone saw, and I know you all shared comments with me on feedback for this survey. The one thing I wanted to point out is, we've made the planning board, as I understand, through the contracted planner who's actually doing the survey. He's taken a lot of that input, made those corrections. Some of the comments from the Board of Selectmen was, hey, can we show the price of what these facilities would cost or estimated to cost? And we have done that. But the problem is, as far as estimating a tax impact, like we do, on a warrant article, that's something that I wouldn't be able to do. And I just wanted you all to be aware of that. There's too many variables involved because I don't know how the financing would take place. I don't know if it's a 5-year or an 8-year or 20-year bond. And the tax impact's always based on what your current, budget situation is.
We don't even know what the tax rate is right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, but obviously the input about, hey, can we share? You can't just ask someone, do you want to build a new police station? Do you want to build a new police station at the cost of X number of dollars? So that number would be put in there, but I wouldn't try to calculate out this is going to cost you, 12 cents per thousand, because I wouldn't know. There's just no way of knowing.
The other thing that might be helpful is if we can, when you're putting a dollar number on something to be built, adding in the interest payments, which we found out in the last meeting, which was a shocker, how much we're paying in interest on the fire station.
Yeah.
Almost doubles what we're.
Yeah. And it's hard. And again, that gets down to the tax impact, because you don't know what the interest rate would be. And I don't know what the final outcome of what the term of the bond or the loan would be.
Yes.
That's always debated when you've got a project.
Well,
So I wouldn't want to I just couldn't make those guys,
So the surveys just really help is it a project the town would want to go do, and what year we're looking at? So there will be a public hearing with the CIP asking for feedback from the public on the CIP plan. So this is just another survey that they were doing for the master plan anyways. They said, hey, let's throw some CIP questions on it since we're discussing it, and that's how it all kind of came around.
I'm just looking at like Bob's thought. I was thinking about this a lot. It's just a number. Now we could use the tax rate now and just throw a 5-year example. Well, what a 5-year bond at least would be, what a 10-year, 15-year, or 20-year generalization. So you see what the numbering may be. Okay, you use this year's tax rate, note that it could change, which is going to. Okay, but it's just something to look at. I'm just, as Bob was right, the interest, you know,
Adds up.
adds up.
Well, and the length, but
That's the length, yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah, that's
think
what he used.
I think that at this point, you're better off just asking the question about the facilities and our best estimate on what we think the cost of that facility would be, and get feedback from there. And then, you know, when you get a couple years down the road, and now you're actually looking at a very specific building, I think that's the time where you start to really
He's starting to develop that.
narrow
warrant
in
article,
on,
what is
hey,
the cost, what are the
we're
rates
looking at
like?
probably today's rates at 3.5%, and we think the best thing that will fit in the budget right now is a 12-year bond, and we think this will be a tax impact. Because
This
There's gotta be
example,
some kind of wording that you could put behind that price
yeah,
as a, projected cost is,
you could.
That's-
I mean, you could
something
say
to
a
that
projected
nature
cost,
that-
and then,
so that they would at least have an idea. I mean,
but I could,
look at the police station, the fire station. It was what?
yeah, I know. But I mean,
Outrageous number. And
yeah,
then
but I could
we
make
started
up.
shaving things, it came
Right.
down.
But here's the thing: you're leaving it at just random discretion of someone to randomly decide. Well, based on today's market and stuff, projected 20-year bond. Well, that's going to make the tax impact lower. So I'm going to spread that over
Oh,
20 years.
I agree.
And then someone else can say, well, why'd you pick 20? It's just, I think it's premature to
Very
try to
subjective.
pick what you think the tax impact would be. Now, to say,
So once we chose a building.
once you,
Then
you know,
we would
if you're
attach a price.
seriously looking at a police station, and I don't know what that police station looks like, it's being kicked around
no, he does.
3 different possibilities right now, but
Take
a
a
couple
fire
of years
truck.
from now, you've figured it out. You're going to build a brand new police station because that's what makes sense.
Take a
And
fire
then,
truck.
then you know,
That alone.
there's a fire truck.
It's
So
not cheap.
no, they're
They're really
over
expensive.
600,
Yep.
700.
$600,000-$750,000.
For a fire truck.
Look at $1 million
Yeah.
trucks.
1.3.
Everything I've seen that I've talked to guys, well over $1 million.
They add too much stuff to
You
them.
know, I
By the
mean,
time you fit them out.
what they require on the truck today, it's not so much the truck itself, it's
Oh, yeah.
what's put into that truck.
It's the equipment that goes in it.
Gear and everything they have now.
Or you can't just take it off the old truck, and put it in, because it's gonna be new.
Today are far different from what those trucks that are sitting over there now are.
We used to, things have
You used to
changed.
ride on the back. Today you ride inside the cab.
Yeah.
Hang off the back.
You get home and wash it. You can't even do that
They
anymore.
got chopped out with the
You
ice.
can't even put your gear in there unless you put it into a clothes dryer.
All right. And so the last couple of things here is,
Get a wash machine on
I
the
just
truck.
want to make you aware, I just learned today that we had a police officer suffer a work-related injury.
Oh.
And so, we had a recent resignation. Now, this person could be out 1 to 2 months. So we find ourselves, police department, a little shorthanded with this. And as I said earlier, working with the road agent, getting quotes to remove those trees down at the old town hall and the parking lot quotes.
Okay.
There's also a tree over in Jeff Lane behind the Major League Field that if it comes down, it's taken out a backstop and everything.
Great.
Where is it, Jeff Lane?
Jeff Lane, yeah, behind the Major League Fields. If you're facing the field, the right-hand field.
Did it already come down? or-
No.
Is there a fence? Like, could the highway department cut it down, or is it leaning over a fence, chain link fence?
They can get to it. If it falls, it's going to take out a fence, but it's far enough back. They can
So
get
it's
to it.
hanging down after the last storm. Okay. Where's my skyhook?
Okay, that's it.
Okay, next we have Selectmen reports. Mr. Larry.
Budget committee back in action Thursday.
Ooh.
We haven't met in a while.
A nice little hiatus, but you'll be at it pretty hard moving forward.
Yes, we will. Andrew's set up quite the schedule. That's okay.
Okay, thank you. Mr. LaSalle's.
At our last meeting, when Mr. Ware from Pennachuck joined us, he said that there had been 8 complaints of residents for discolored water. And I asked if we had some sort of a report as far as those 8 complaints were concerned. And he did send those. And that was over a period of about a month. And the good thing is that Kevin and I were talking earlier, most of those complaints were concentrated into a fairly small area in town. And Kevin, can you expand on that?
It's in one location, and it's in now that there's water coming into town on Talent Road, heading up to that area. Everything changes pressure wise.
That's the one he says now being fed in the opposite direction.
Correct, the opposite direction as he stays, as Don said. So we're getting a flushing effect occurring in there. Plus with the irrigation going on, and I don't know if there's a water ban in this town. I haven't heard it yet. There's none that I know of, okay? Because it's coming out of the river. So I think we're just isolated at that one spot because you got different volumes going through the system.
Most of the farms are irrigating right now.
Yeah, and so there's an area in town where it's not supposed to rain. It's down beside us. As Rich knows, it doesn't rain here.
Yeah.
We don't care. No, but it's I think it has a lot to do with that flow. As Dawn has said, it's reverse, so it's changing things around in the existing pipe. It's going to go away. It'll take time.
It's over in where Pond View and Woodhawk and that whole area over there.
Correct.
There was one on Charles Bancroft Highway, but I'm not sure where that was. He didn't give us the street numbers just for privacy purposes,
And
but it could have been anywhere.
And the night that the firemen used up on the new development, that was a line, just picked up stuff at the end. But when they were at the old firehouse there, we had a nesting keg area, which is part of that volume going through there. It's an older section. And when you draw down as much water these guys can pump, it affects that area and they get more pressure reversing through it.
But Nakoma wasn't on there.
Nakoma is part of it, though. Nesting keg goes up to Nakoma.
Yeah, I understand,
Yeah.
but it wasn't on the complaint list.
No, it was not.
As far as the historical commission, that has not met.
Planning board, I did not go to the last meeting to a health reason, so I don't know.
Okay, Mr. Pinciero.
We haven't met yet since our last meeting.
And
Next week, I think.
And with Rec, we have a meeting tomorrow evening to work on the rest of the budget. Be ready next time.
The rec commission was supposed to be reviewed this evening, but they weren't ready. So
See, he just
your next meeting, we'll spend at least 2.5 hours on the budget.
no police and fire in the same night.
Police and fire, same night.
Nope.
I have a general question about use of impact fees.
Yeah.
When somebody comes to us and asks for impact fees, how is that accounted for and so forth?
So we have a department head or a board or committee that will come and ask. It requires a vote of the Board of Selectmen to approve that. But also we have to take a look at the impact. There will be an impact fee analysis that was done. And in there, it discusses certain items that are eligible for the use of the funds.
Right. Okay.
So, you can't just randomly say, hey, we'll just go use impact fees for this. The impact fees were calculated on your master plan and your capital improvements plan that was in place at that point in time. That's why we're trying to update our CIP plan today. So that, once that's adopted, the planning board will then have to go and reassess the whole impact fees.
So how are impact fees and how they are spent, how are those accounted for?
Karen, she spends hours accounting for them. You mean
When somebody
the
pays
collection
them,
of them?
when someone pays them, they'll go into separate accounts, either high school or middle school or elementary, depending on which year that their subdivision was done and which year the pay and impact fees on. So we have like 8, 9 different accounts.
Okay.
And can those accounts be used for anything? Or do they have to be used for what
Just
they're
for
earmarked
impact,
for?
just for whatever's in the CIP or whatever's in the plan.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it was,
You
there
can't
there was an
just say, I
analysis
need a
that
new
was
window.
done.
Just to calculate them out.
And they
Only had to
usually
go to
use for
those certain
growth, right?
things, that's it.
It has to be for the
For
growth
growth,
of the town, right?
For-
And certain
Thought that's what we
things
learned
with it.
before. It had
We
to be for
could-
the growth of the town.
Yeah, so that's where it's the CIP plan that was in place at that time. And those items that were being requested in the CIP plan due to growth, my understanding, that's what the impact fee was. It wasn't because you just charge, you can't charge an impact fee because you just want to replace the, the road agent's
No.
pickup truck.
Mhm.
But if you're collecting an impact fee because of all the new subdivisions being built and we need a new plow truck because of
Could
this
use it for
growth,
that.
you can actually buy a plow truck with impact fees.
Plus the schools.
In the school, that's how schools, they have a need for an addition or a new school, and,
There's one for roads.
That's what you'd use the plow truck for, right?
New roads.
At one point in time, right now I use them, the practice for the last 3-4 years. We've been using impact fees for our major roads, Albuquerque, Page, Cutler.
Collect the streets.
And because that's truly, the growth in the town has an impact on those major roads. There was a time I know where I think a truck was purchased and that was due to growth. The plow truck.
But you couldn't say, take the money that's earmarked for recreation and buy a plow truck. with it.
No.
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 It would have to come out of the roads thing.
Yeah.
Or the school, you couldn't do.
No,
Okay.
you can't move the fund. You can't.
Okay.
Came in.
So you do have impact fees that are earmarked. Are all impact fees earmarked in some way?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
And they can only be used for that purpose that they were
Earmarked
collected
for.
for. So if it's a recreation impact fee, it can only be used for recreation, but I can't use that recreation impact fee to go put a new roof on Talon Hall.
That's separate.
That's not an impact.
It
That's
has to
just
be a
maintenance.
growth.
It has to be a growth issue
Okay.
where maybe I need a new tennis court because now due to our population, we should have 6 tennis courts in town.
And 2 boat launches.
Who knows? Thank you.
Okay, we had no items removed for consent. We had no other business. Our next meeting is September 14th. We do have 2 more items this evening. They're both non-public sessions. One is under RSA 91A:32C reputation, and the second is under RSA 91A:32A, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any employee or the disciplining of such employee or the investigation of any charges against him or her. Do we have a motion to go into non-public?
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Larry. Roll call, Mr. Larry.
Aye.
Mr. LaSalle's.
Aye.
Mr. Lynch.
Aye.
Mr. Pinciero.
Aye.
I am also an aye. We are now in non-public. Thank you for tuning in, and everyone be well.
Have a good night.